Reading the books in this library was the best thing. She filled this vast library with bookshelves full of books on both sides of long rows. Rows of a bookshelf lined together, some special cubic bookshelves floating in the air, that high ceiling with special lights and celestial map that constantly moved. The books that shined, glowed, and sparked, as well as books that carried the old scent of the past. This place was heaven, and it was no exaggeration. The books here were diverse, and there was no lack of magic tomes either. Just the shelf behind my back, I was sitting there, were at least 100 of them. And in total, there were 600 books on this small shelf. It was small, even with this large amount of books. If my calculations were correct, the books on the floating shelves were all magic tomes, and one such shelf contained 3,000 such books. 3,000 magic tomes. I didn't believe there was another library aside from the one in the academy that could have even been close to the books in this general area. I had only read around 1,000 books in my long 1.5 years of stay in this place, and I knew those were already a lot. And thanks to the language books here, I was able to learn many languages. That helped me a lot, as there were books in all kinds of languages here I couldn't even start to understand. From human languages, ancient languages, runes, as well as languages of different races. It was an amazing experience. And I loved it as much as I loved the reaction of my little sister from the last time. The letter surprised her more than anyone. I sent the letter with a voice answer and not just words, and she was overjoyed to hear my direct voice for the first time. Though this artifact orb was one special thing, I knew they would like this letter very much. Even Mom, my 2 aunties, and my grandparents were happy to receive it. The only 3 that was odd at that time were my dad and 2 uncles. Well, I could understand their feelings to be so simple-minded and not doing it this way. They thought it would be a too high-level thing for me, but when they received the paper from me, my first uncle was the most surprised one. I knew he was a genius magic engineer, and this paper was his area of expertise, but even him complimenting me on that one felt a little embarrassing. I wasn't quite at the level of that scenery circle, but hearing my work was impressive was my first time. This was different from the master, who was also my grandma and had different methods. My uncle took that whole day to himself just to explain how great my simplification of those significant problems was. Though thankfully it wasn't the first time someone had done it, I was the first one he had seen that could water down the enormous calculation works of a voice recorder to that degree. Even my little brother was surprised. My version of the voice recording magic circle that comes out as an answer was considered revolutionary in the field of communication. Aside from its great calculative aspect, it was far more simple than the one previously used by mages and knights. It was something that can commonly help others, and I was the one that made it. Though we didn't have much time, we couldn't discuss much, so I decided to let my uncles do whatever they wanted with this knowledge. It wasn't like it was entirely my idea. Anyway, I just created it using many references from this library. Maybe the outside world didn't have as much knowledge of the past as this place, but, well, it wasn't that important to me. They were happy and I was happy. That's all that mattered. The book I was currently reading was called Energy Application to Physical and Astral Body Parts. Though it was written in the ancient language of a nation named Valmiki, I had learned this language some time ago. I don't know if it's actually true, but the time in this library seems to have slowed down. I had spent more time here than I can think, but actually, I don't spend that long here. Aside from training and playing with the master, I just spend some hours here by myself and sometimes with Seals. Seals was with master more time than me, and I knew the reason behind that. We were connected, and the master was teaching her how to use her own powers as a crystal butterfly as well as the power of our bond. She had learned many things, and aside from talking with me with no limit to distance, I can see and hear what she was doing if I wanted to. And right now, Master, are you spying on us or something? She spoke just when I was about to close my eyes and check up on her. Well, if I can see what she can whenever I wanted, she at least knew when I was looking through her eyes. And she seemed pretty cheerful for this evening. What's going on, Seals? You sound quite happy. What might be making my lovely partner happy? I was curious about her overly cheerful tone that sounded almost teasing to me. Were they taking BA? Doing something exciting? Master tried to grow a flower that could taste like what you call pizza. She has been failing for an hour now. She failed? Oh yeah, that's the power of almighty pizza. I shouted through my head and she jumped in our private talk. Don't get that excited, you two. I'm finally done. I didn't know how she can hear and interrupt our talk that was supposed to be connected with the origin link. She had damn broken abilities for a divine entity. Well, pizza proved that it was worthy of the name of one of the best things. Next time I will make the special curry rice. Let's see if you can copy its taste. This wasn't the first time they were doing this, and it surprised me every time I saw the artificially made flour with a wavelength of light that tasted differently. Just how the hell did she do it? Even if I knew the procedure, no way in hell I can make something like that. She used earth magic as well as some unique properties of distinct elements to grow a plant that carried strange characteristics. Like right now. She grew up a bright yellow flower from a normal blue flower seed, and when seals sucked the light out of the flower, she shouted in joy. Yes, it's the same as you described. The feeling is the same too. It's warm, spicy, sweet, and saucy. Master is amazing. It overjoyed her from just that small bite, and that light reappeared after some time. Master, oh master. See, I'm the best. Her triumphant laughter was a rare sight, and I could feel she was really happy to make this flower for her. She loved pizza more than the burgers and other food I had made. And we had a lot of ingredients to make things with different tastes, types, and flavors. I had the appraisal skill so I could make out some of the ingredients, but my skill wasn't good enough for most things here. I had no way of knowing what this was if I had not even the slightest knowledge of it with this skill. Thankfully, she knew everything about them, so I was happy with her mouth-watering cooking. So, well, my grandma is awesome. Say, Ian, how about you experience some small pain tomorrow? So, well, my grandma was evil. I closed the book in my hand and put it back on the shelf, and set it down with complete focus. This was one of those things when she starts saying something that could change many things that had happened in the past. Now, I was accustomed to these sudden sparks of inspiration to do something unexpected. What do you mean by small pain, Grandma? I asked with my heart beating nervously. Master, be prepared. She has that grin on her face. This was more serious than I had thought. Let's prepare to almost die again. Thanks, Seals. Thanking her from the bottom of my heart. As I might not see them tomorrow, I listened as she talked. Well, it's nothing much, but there's a special floor for training. Seeing that you have progressed so much in these 6 months with your special training, I think you're ready. You will have to endure extreme pressure and a dense energy atmosphere, and there might be a teeny-tiny threat to your life. You can only use this at a certain stage of your training, and now is the time. You won't be able to do it for a long time if you don't do good in this one, but if you do well, I believe you can gather months' worth of energy in one day and improve the balance of the astral and physical body. Why are you saying it so casually? I shouted with a horrified expression and stood up. Teeny-tiny threat to my life? And more than that, there's such a place? Here? And what inspiration did she get to say something so important out of the blue? And why did she say something involving my death so happily? And that grin. This was definitely more than a little painful. But that floor sounded too interesting to not go. Not that I had any choice if she said it. So, tomorrow is good, right, Ian? She asked with a genuine smile that I saw through Seals, and exhaled. Yes, tomorrow is good. But I want you to make dinner today. I had to at least taste her cooking if I was uncertain of my survival the next day. Not that she would let me die, nor did I have any plans of dying anytime soon. Of course, you will have fun on your own, though we both will have to be closed in that room alone. And you have to sit down without a shirt and… Yes, Grandma, that much information is good enough. I will be okay. Oh really? She grinned, as she knew I would be blushing from her misleading words. I didn't fear death as I have experienced it already. I feared her because she was truly unpredictable. She can do whatever she wants to me, and she might if I don't know, but thankfully she just loved teasing me. This might be sudden, but Ian, I'm expecting some excellent results. But don't go too far. I know you will do good. she said in a serious as well as warm voice. She wanted me to do my best and be safe. Just like her, a ruthless woman who worried with her heart. I loved her because of this side of hers. She was the best. Worry not, Grandma. I will do my best so that you won't be disappointed. I smiled, and she sighed happily on the other side. This quiet library was forever the same, and so was my grandma. Let's continue. I sighed and took out the book I was reading. There was still time, so I can finish this one before going down for the possible last dinner of my life. Sitting in the middle of a large magic circle that covered almost half a kilometer in radius, a boy calmly breathed with his half-naked body. His body, the boy's body, was a piece of art created with utmost care. Like a perfect sculpture with no unnecessary muscles. It was just perfect. Those powerful arms, that straight, muscular back, that muscular shoulder, and those gorgeous abs. It was hard to imagine this boy was just around 11 years old from that attractive physique. Sitting in this endless dark room with only this one magic circle that was impossible to understand, even by great geniuses, he breathed calmly in the special air. Special air filled with highly concentrated solar energy, and he was still calm. It was impossible for normal beings with no affinity for particular energy to even sense it, but for someone like him, it was a different story. He can feel it clearly, as well as experience the great pressure from this concentrated energy in his surrounding. He might be feeling a lot more gravitational pull than normal, feeling almost crushed in that place, but he was calm. He didn't show any form of discomfort and just continued absorbing the dense energy around him. The process going around him was invisible to normal eyes, but it was different for the person standing some distance away. This lady looked alluring, and one might fall for those looks. Just those glowing blue eyes filled with delight looked somewhat dangerous, not like some hungry predator, but just that they looked unique in this darkness. They were glowing, and the things those eyes saw were a lot different from what met the normal eyes. This large room was filled with magic circles of different shapes, sizes, and colors. The giant magic circle he was sitting on was no normal thing either. Glowing in a rainbow color with different sections having different colors, this magic circle was creating different spheres of some peculiar colors, ranging from orange, blue, yellow, purple, and many other colors. Coincidentally, all these spheres looked somewhat similar to the common outline of the sun. And then there was this boy sitting in the middle of all this, unfazed by anything. This circle had 3 times the gravity than normal, but he was doing fine. The physical body was, at the very least, his astral body, the materialization of one's soul, was having a hard time coping with all the different energy radiations in his surroundings. He has achieved control over his physical body, but he was still a bit away from being able to master the control over his soul. Well, this concept was new in itself to a child like him, anyway. One would naturally understand the meaning of the world, the things within it, as well as the extent of oneself. Every being in nature was different, but we all had the same permissions and restrictions as someone who would inevitably be going to die. Though there were exceptions like her, true immorality didn't exist. But those things didn't mean anything to a young boy like him who has just started learning the truth. He could barely separate the 2 bodies, just like right now. And that was amazing for any being his age. She had trained him for almost 1.5 years, and he had grown beyond her expectations. He wasn't a genius who understood everything at once, but he was a genius who worked hard and figured out everything on his own. His ability to remember everything was one thing, but his passion and fire to learn were what made him more than a genius. He had learned many things during the time they had been together, and the knowledge and wisdom he now possessed were more than any normal being. Be it magic she taught him, magic that he learned from books, or magic that he created on his own, they were all amazing. And his physical abilities had grown a lot, too. Be it his archery skills, close combat, or overall strength, he was truly a great disciple to her. Even at this moment, she was smiling triumphantly as she looked at him. 6 months. Truly, he's a monster, if not a genius. She commended while biting her nails. Her crazy smile and the fiery eyes fixed on him were enough to show her joy at this moment. Her exaggerated reaction wasn't because of him being able to endure this magic circle, but something more than that. One could only see the spectacle with eyes like her, and truly, it was unbelievable. The physical body of the boy was the same, but something different was happening with the astral body that was having a hard time all this time. The astral body had the same appearance as the boy, and the pressure that seemed unbearable to this boy was getting lower as time passed. She was hoping for something as she looked at him, something that she believed wasn't possible and something that she would see for the first time in her long life. She continued looking at the boy and, as time went by, the astral body that floated just above him started calming down and adjusting to these different energies. At this moment, the body of the boy started glowing up in white, and from the light balls floating around him, the white one floated beside him. And with that, every other sphere of light turned into white, filling the entire room with white in her eyes. He liked my white flames enough to choose white from all those colors? Well, it will certainly suit him. She smiled again and looked at her orange-colored energy. These were the colors one accepted the soul nova as materialization. Just like mana or aura, being able to materialize a particular type of energy was different from using them in magic or strengthening. One could use materialize aura in a form that came out of their deep subconscious. But that happened on and after the rank 4 of a knight in simple terms. A mage could materialize mana easier than aura at the tier 5, and it was different from just materializing it in a form. Materialized mana was a crystal that worked as an accessory or a gift for someone special. But Soul Nova was different from other materializations. Just like what she had done to open his energy channels, one can materialize that energy ball when they clear the second blockage of the physical body. It was the most basic thing when one had mastered both physical and astral bodies and established a proper connection to both of them. And right now, Ian was going to clear the first blockage of his body, the blockage of beginning. Any energy cultivation would lead one to greater heights, and the 9 blockages are the same. She had taught him everything about Soul Nova she could in this time, and all he had left was practice and more lessons ahead of him. Though she had plans for different things, right now, the overflowing energy in this room was starting to get even more concentrated around him than before. The process needed a tremendous will and endurance, but this boy was doing splendidly. His body was heating up while beads of sweat started appearing on his forehead. The astral body above his head started stabilizing too. But blood started coming out of his nose at that same moment. You can do it, Ian. Push forward. You won't have another chance to come here for the next 5 years. Get as much as you can. She mumbled under her breath while keeping the smile. She was happy, and the atmosphere in the room was starting to change. A mist was slowly covering the room as the subject in the center entered the final stage of training. This was the 45th floor of the tower, a floor with rooms similar to this one for different energies. Though this one was special among them too, where only those who can control and use Soul Nova can enter, the restriction was as great as the benefit. The process was hellish, but if you can pass through this thing, you were sure to reach new heights of strength. Through a higher density energy environment and assistance magic circle that supported the user, one can do an average of a year's worth of training in a single day. The one using this right now was the pretty boy, and he was enduring the growing pressure and energy without any problem. If this was mana, one might have gotten mana poisoning at that density, but the energy and the user both were different from usual. At this moment, this masochistic person was smiling in the face of pain, and not only in his physical body but also in his astral body. The wavelength of Soul Nova he chose, or more precisely, his subconscious chose, was growing and growing with each moment. The ball of light had absorbed into the boy's body, and slowly, other balls of light were getting in line to be absorbed by him. But it was getting slow with each new ball of light. It was pure energy. Him being able to absorb just one was amazing, but this greedy fool was not stopping on just that. 1, 2, 3. He absorbed 5 in a row, but then the absorption slowed down. The blood flowing out of his nose was also severe, and his ears were also starting to bleed. But something stranger than this was happening with his eyes. Instead of anything like discomfort, his eyes were calm and glowing in the same light as the balls of light. This was sudden, and seeing this made the smirk on the lady's face deeper. Lucky bastard. Looks like his greed pleased the Lady of Luck. This entire process, the entire show going on right now, and the deep smile on the boy's face were making her even more excited than before. The boy didn't just stop with clearing the blockage of the beginning, but he was doing more than that. And this was related to his eyes. His eyes were red like ruby but, at this very moment, were glowing in white. The fusion of the pure white balls of light had slowed down significantly and, aside from the last one, every other light ball was slowly vanishing from the circle. The whole dark room was getting illuminated with the different magic circles, and a magic shield had formed around the boy as well as the magic circle. He had absorbed 8 balls of pure light, 8 high-purity soul nova packs, and now he was overflowing with it. And, as the rule of nature, when a dam overflows, the energy will leak without a doubt. Even though he had absorbed all that energy with the assistance and guidance of this room, he hadn't fully absorbed everything. Around 10 or 20% was still lingering around his physical and astral body. The astral body had now stabilized with the physical body and started to form balance. The astral body existed in the astral world, a place separate from the physical world, so the time flow there was naturally different from here. Even though you can't do much in that form, just having the ability to become a ghost no one can see was a great thing. Well, it was an awesome thing as we can do stuff and no one will even know someone was there. As a living, we can't stay without a physical body for much longer, even while having the ability to do so, but it was still awesome. Those were the rules of the world, so there wasn't much use for this form, but certainly it was one of the most fundamental forms to understanding the world and getting stronger. Strengthening the soul was an arduous task, and this was where things that can strengthen it were used. Normal people don't focus on the soul, but those who know the meaning of a stronger soul know just how much things that can strengthen the soul are worth. And this whole place that can do such wonders was naturally a ridiculous cheat. And the boy who was about to finish the last ball of light started feeling the actual hell that one felt at the clearing of a blockage, and his body trembled. "Good luck, my dear child. I know you can do it." She prayed with her hands joint and closed her eyes when the ball of light fully absorbed in the boy's body. An excruciating pain ran throughout his body, and the boy screamed in utter agony. A pain one felt when the dam that had restricted the bond of the two bodies breaks for the first time. And even after all the help and support the magic here could provide, it was a pain no child can even fathom to understand. The explosion was loud, but the inside of the smoke and that barrier had a completely different story to tell. A peculiar white light covered the boy sitting in the middle of the magic circle, and this light surrounded the soul besides his physical body, too. This light, this peculiar light, was warm and was giving off the same gentle warmth as the morning sun. This was interesting, but the black smoke and the black waste that had come out of his perfect body were no good. He had cleared the first blockage that restricted the use, storage, and output of Soul Nova. The first blockage, though it was just a name, represented the whole physical body that had established a perfect connection with the astral body. So he now had control over his astral body, something few strong and talented people could master. He was now one of them, but he wasn't looking that good right now. Though it was painful, he had maintained his energy, internal organs, and outer body with the energy he was absorbing. He was thankfully unharmed, but the smoke covering this enclosed barrier was not clearing. His breathing might slow down if things went the same as they were right now, but, thankfully, the smoke started to clear up after the snap of her finger. His master that had taught him everything and the grandma that had prayed for his safety were now happy with their safe and stronger child. He had grown up in that short amount of time and had become one of the few that could separate and maintain both bodies. She had never expected this, and neither did him. For him, this day was more surprising than her. It was just yesterday that she suddenly brought up this place, and now he had become stronger than he ever was. Clearing the first blockage of the body was a horrendous task, but he had cleared it with excellent results. He is the first one, she taught herself, and she liked him even more as a teacher now. He had surpassed the expectations of this teacher, clearing the blockage of beginning at this young age. And his Soul Nova had gained the first characteristic: color. It was him that chose pure white, even though subconsciously. The color told many things about the power, just like aura. Aura represented the person, while the first characteristic of Soul Nova, Its color represented the wavelength of energy the person would accept. Being different from other energies, Soul Nova varied according to its wavelength. Her orange one was hotter and thicker than others, and his white was smoother and swifter than others, making it perfect for an archer like him. She knew it too, but her white flames might have influenced his thinking even deeper than her imagination, making his subconscious choose pure white. She had a glad smile on her face too, and after he had safely cleared the blockage, as well as achieved the second stage for his origin skill of eyes. This little bastard was more special than he knew, and this exciting proficiency to use energies was his genius. The explosion was enormous, and the waste covering his body won't clean itself, nor will he. He had passed out on the ground as the smoke was clearing up, and now his astral body was also back in him. He had done his best, and one could only try to imagine how great the suffering he had gone through in that short amount of time was. From the pressure, thickness, and potency of Soul Nova in that place, it was surprising that he was still conscious after taking that many orbs of energy on his first try. She ran towards him while his whole body was covered in pure blue flames. The black waste on his body vanished, and it cleaned him up in no time at all. After that, a jade-green flame covered him, bringing back the vitality and blood he had lost in the process. He was safe, better than before, and he has finished her teachings. Picking his big body like it was a feather, she kissed him on the forehead. Well done, Ian. You exceeded the expectations of your master and came out safe for your helpless, greedy grandma. She had a smile as well as sadness in her eyes that were seeing the future with a certain bright light. As always, after getting beaten up and falling unconscious, I woke up in my room with the same familiar ceiling and scent. I did it, though I never thought I will be able to. I did well, right, Master? I asked with a hopeful expression after getting up and sitting down while supporting my painful back. Of course, you even surprised me with that. She complimented with a warm smile on her face. Her smile was refreshing as always, and I loved that smile. Thank you, Master. I thanked her with a soft smile and suddenly remembered something. Yes, you even reached stage 2, for your eyes. They are far better than before. It's a fascinating achievement, Ian. Not many have a stage 2 skill even after having an advanced mastery over their origin skill. This is a tremendous achievement, Ian. And yours is even special among specials. They have become magnificent. She complimented with a new kind of cheerful look. She was happy for me and glad that I now had something better than before. But what did it become? Status window. I called out my status window like every day and looked at my satisfying stats. Name, Axion Cromit. Age 10. Strength, 106. Dexterity, 107. Stamina, 108. Magic power, 120. Intelligence, 117. Luck, 69. Charm, 65. Skill, energy circulation, quickstep, appraisal, shadow dive, mana vision, shadow curtain, energy burst, stark triangle, mana shield. Origin skill, sun's blessing, intermediate mastery. 3 eyes, stage 2. Dynamic heart, stage 1. White crack, stage 1. My status window had changed more than before, and it was now white, closer to the pure white like the Soul Nova color I had gained. It looks good. Your stats are unbelievable for someone your age, and your skill level has increased too. But before you try that out, she paused and picked up the small glass from the side table and held it before me. There was a red wine-like liquid in it, and it looked delicious for some reason. Drink it. You will be all healed after that. She guaranteed with a warm smile, and I took it without any questions. Medicine and potions were also one of her specialties, and she had taught me some of them during that time. I was seeing this one for the first time, but I was sure of one thing. I exclaimed with a delighted smile and finished the whole glass. Her every remedy was delicious, as if it was a delicacy and not the all-infamous bitter medicine. This one was also delicious, and the effect was immediate. A new vitality ran throughout my body, healing every unwellness of my body. This was some good stuff. Okay, so, get up. Try looking outside with your new skill, she said with a radiant smile and walked up to the window. I also got up without any discomfort and looked at my new pajamas. Well, she knew everything about me, and this wasn't the first time she changed my clothes. But it was still embarrassing. With a deep internal sigh, I walked up to the window and looked outside the beautiful scenery. Try using it, she said with an excited voice, filling my heart with anticipation. I believed she already knew what my skill does, but I still wanted to know, and there was only one way to find that out. The skill now had a new name, and it was unique from the previous one. Looking at the vast grass fields and the tower downside, I looked every day. With a racing heart, I used the skill. Origin skill 3 eyes, I said, and world before my eyes changed. The world outside the window was something I always saw in the morning and whenever I was bored. And with my mystic eyes that can see the faraway boundary, I liked seeing this beautiful sight. This was something I enjoyed, and seeing things that appeared within my range was also something I loved to study. I played with my skill all the time I had been here and used it in various ways. I had this skill from the moment of my awakening, and I loved it. It had saved me countless times from the moment I fall into this hell-like forest. I knew all the things I can do with this skill, and I was confident about that. I knew the strengths and weaknesses of this skill, but now, after it suddenly evolved with my breakthrough, this thing had become something totally different. Wow! I exclaimed as I looked outside of the window with this skill. Or something like seeing everything with the eyes of a different person. As if I had 3 eyes, I can see things with this new type of vision. And this third eye was free from the limitations my skill previously had. This third eye was something I can move however I liked it. I can go down with it and see the grass up close. See the flowers I could only see in the form of a magnified image. This was definitely something awesome. This third eye, I can do things I wasn't able to do previously. The burden on me was also not that much, and with the golden fruit with me, I can manage to use this skill almost for hours before needing any rest. I tried playing with this, making the eye go to the places I couldn't see from this side. I circled the tower with this new ability, and these eyes, different from Seals's, can see far away from the place I was standing. And that wasn't the only thing they can do. Yes, just believe in yourself and you will be all good, she said with a confident smile that knew what I was doing and wanted to do it with full certainty. With a nod, I stopped on a certain flower on the backside of the tower and focused my attention on it. I didn't see it myself, but at this moment, my eyes had turned blue. Polynom, a mana flower carrying high-density mana, can be used in mana regeneration potion as well as material for the creation of something. Can't be used by someone with lower mental fortitude. You can use it, and this will be somewhat helpful to relieve the stress of a long chanting spell. Is this? I couldn't believe it, but now, these eyes can appraise something my previous appraisal skill couldn't even say the name of. Now, you can even appraise the divine artifacts that you couldn't see anything about. Actually, this ability has no limitations aside from the fact that you have to at least know something about the target, or else if the target is too powerful or something like that, the results would be unsatisfactory. Well, this is the second one, but there's still a third one. It's a fear-inducing ability, something you already know about. It's a strong one and will help you in fights. Naturally, it's nothing in front of me, but if I had to say it myself, then she looked at me and smiled mischievously. Her explanation was too thorough, as if she knew about this skill, and maybe about myself better than myself. Well, actually, it might be true, and I had the hunch it was. Well, I know more about you than you know, so don't worry. And this skill can easily make something below your strength bow down to you. It will be scary effectively against humans, so I will suggest never use against others if not necessary. You're smart, so I know you will understand. Your normal eyes that can see far away are red. The third eye can see around a long distance, blue. And the eye that makes one crawl in the presence of a higher being, eyes that will look down upon every being, silver. That's a rare ability, and just from the diverse uses, you can understand why it's close to impossible for someone as young as you to have a Stage 2 ability, right? In your words, this ability is broken, and it definitely is, with no doubt. But it's your skill, Ian. And you are the one that controls it. Her voice was stern at the end. It was as if she was saying something important in the form of those words. She had done this many times, and I didn't know why I made a special place in my mind for these kinds of words of hers. I already knew this ability was mine, and I was the one who had it. There was nothing difficult about it. But yeah, this thing was definitely broken. I had seen the fear skills. I knew just how effective they were. This new ability that I obtained after years was something that might be impossible to upgrade further. Something that will always be this way, and I had no problem with that, as I knew just mastering this power will take me a long, long time. She had told me about the use of this new ability, but I had no doubt she didn't say everything about them. She never tells everything, leaving the hard work of finding out to me. All she said were hints, and I will have to figure out everything about the skill like anything else. Well, having this head start was a good thing. I had a new ability, and now I can do more things because I had cleared the first blockage of the body. I wanted to do many things, and learning new things from her was one of them. But, as she had always done, she read my mind, and this time, she patted my shoulders and I looked at her. She had a happy, sad, and excited expression on her face. It was more complicated to read than watch, as I could never read her eyes. Or her. Listen, my student Ian. She called out my name with a serious expression. She had called out her student. Not the Ian, not the child, not the little one, but her student. This was the most serious I had seen her. Again, this sudden mood swing of hers. And this one was the biggest. Yes, I, as her student, answered her call. I have nothing else to teach you, she said in a stern voice, serious to the core, and looked deep into my eyes that had gone blank from the sudden thing. What? That was the only word that came out of me as I looked back into those fiery, pure blue eyes. She meant what she just said, and I couldn't accept what she just said, even after knowing a day like this would come. But this was very soon. Don't be surprised, Axion. We both knew this was coming. I taught you everything you need and will need for now. The library has vast knowledge you can gain until you are satisfied. You have everything you will need here, so prepare yourself for your final exam as my student, as well as my successor. We will do it around next year, so start preparing. She sighed deeply after dropping this sudden bomb on me, leaving me utterly speechless. Exam? For what? More importantly, what's with that deep sigh, as if a burden had lifted from her shoulders? A great one at that. She dropped the bomb on me, and I was the one whose teachings suddenly ended without any notice or anything. Yes, she taught me surprisingly too much, to the point I don't even know how to do many of the stuff. Her verbal and information lessons covered a great number of things that I didn't think would find anywhere else. She taught me the magic circle formulas and all the basics I would need in my path. I consider myself one of the most well-taught kids of my age. But I wanted more from her. This wasn't enough. Don't think too much, Ian. I'm not going anywhere. You can ask me anything you don't understand or something too difficult after you try it many times. Actually, I was able to teach after that long of a time because it was you, Ian. You were better than I thought, and you exceeded my expectations like no other. I thought it would take at least 3 years at that normal, playful phase, but you finished in half of the time. As your teacher and grandma, I'm overjoyed to say this. You're amazing, Ian. She patted my head with the warm smile of my grandma, and that made me sigh. I will do well, Grandma. I hugged her after saying that. She said around next year, so I will be almost 12 by then. That would be her test, and that meant I would go back after some time. She maybe knew I was strong enough, but I still lacked many things. There were many possibilities, but I was just an abnormal human. I could never understand what she was thinking. She hugged me back too, with a sad and relieving touch. She was happy for various reasons, but in the end, this was the end. At the end of my peaceful time of thinking, I had all the time in the world. Now I lacked that very thing the most, time. And there were still many books I had to finish in that library. It would be tough from now on. But I knew It would all work out well. I believed her, and that was all I can do anyway. Well, damn. I sighed deeply as I sat in my room, clueless about where to start for her test. This was a test, something that had suddenly dropped on my back out of the blue. I liked the assessments now that I had solved those papers like letters from my family, but things were different with her test. I didn't know the topic, type, or anything about these tests she might take. She just said she will test everything I had learned from her, like those novels where a grand master takes the ultimate test after vigorous training. Maybe this was something like that, and she will test the things she had taught me. But what will she ask? To create a new magic circle for Sol Nova with the basics she taught me? Fight her in a battle? Something like a written exam or something like that. Make some medicine from different ingredients? Cook something? There were countless things she could ask, and she had given me an entire year, so I had to think about what I lacked and improve in that short time. A year, 369 days. It was a small time if I were to get stronger and gain some outstanding knowledge. And it was still unclear if I will be strong enough to pass through that gate by that. Our time together was short, but I wasn't ready to part ways with her just yet. These years, these were some small days that I had left with her. If I was going to never see her again, I had to spend more time with her than training senselessly. The training was one thing, but there was a complete library to read. Though it was impossible to read even an entire shelf in that short time, it was possible to read the shelf that I had been reading this whole time. There were around 2,000 books left for me to read on that general section shelf, so I had to at least finish that one. Though time was short, I had many things I had to start as soon as I can. Increase the Sol Nova inside the body now that I had broken the first blockage of my body was first. My storage limit and output proficiency had increased significantly, and if I say the previous output was 3%, it has increased to 8% average output. I can push it to at least 10% in difficult circumstances, but on average, my storage capacity had almost tripped after just the first blockage cleared. That was some insane growth, and I now almost had a Tier 2 mana core along with my normal Tier 3 1. This was good, but I had no idea how to do things from now on. I can make spells using Sol Nova easily now that I had a deep understanding of the concept, and it was easier to use than mana itself, but I had to train my mana too. If I go back, I couldn't carelessly use Sol Nova and the spells related to it. That would be dangerous in many aspects. The spells used with Sol Nova were more powerful than the normal spells, and, in some circumstances, they could rival weaker attack skills. That was something crazy, and it showed just how powerful of energy it was. And I could use the knowledge from my past life and do things that I wanted to do when I reached Tier 4. Being an easy, more refined, and faster circulating energy, Sol Nova was superior to mana in many aspects. But its lack of density, slow recovery, and hard use was also its downside. So, I had to train my both energies if I wanted to pass whatever test she was going to give me. But that wasn't all either. I had to experiment and create potions to help in my fight, enchant Asta with the best things I can, and increase my stats. I knew this test would be anything but easy, so I had to prepare to the best of my abilities. There could be anything in that test, from killing a beast or an army of beasts to testing my archery skills. Shooting targets far away, shooting tens of targets at once, killing moving targets and such. Or even a scouting mission. It can be anything, and knowing her sudden mood swings, I knew it won't be easy at the very least. Laying on my soft bed, I called my darling partner. "Oh, Seals, what should I start with?" I asked her while laying down on my bed and closing my eyes. It was already night, and we had already finished the dinner she made with extra care. Seals was outside, playing with the flower lights of night. Apparently, she had already passed the master's test, and she was now free to do whatever she wanted. Her test was simple, and I saw that whole thing through her eyes. She just had to demonstrate her powers and things she had learned until now, and that was enough. Though, unlike me, she will continue to teach her until we depart. She had taught my Seals all the basics she would need, and she was happy to play here all by herself. "It will be okay, Master. Master's master is very sweet. She won't do anything weird when it's about the test. And I know you will do great." This cheerful creature. I knew she would get along with the three moms in my family. I hope so too. I was still worried, and there was a reason for my great disturbance. Her wish. There was only one thing I can think of, and I didn't want to think what I was thinking. So, I moved that thought to the bottom of my mind and opened my eyes. I also had to test my 3 eyes and see the effects that I hadn't been able to understand when I tested them earlier. I had many things to do, and there was no time. Ah! Oh, Grandma. You and I both know this wasn't necessary. I mumbled under my breath and closed my eyes. This day was tiring, and I had many things to take care of for the great future examination. That might actually turn out to be the worst-case scenario if it was actually true. Standing on the top of the tower, I looked up at the moon and stars that looked so close I wanted to grab them. But they were far away even after getting this close to them. Sometimes you think you know everything about something or someone, but something new comes up that would make you question your thinking. Did I actually know this person? Is he the same one that I thought I knew everything about? Or such thought-provoking questions. I knew everything about Ian, while he was denying it even after knowing what I was. He was naturally thinking logically, or at least trying to think illogically. But he knew the best people weren't the same as they seem at first glance. He had now gained the ability to know about something. Those 3 different eyes were special and something even I hadn't seen in a long time. He could see the information about things that are close to impossible to know because of the world's restrictions. His eyes could reach beyond what he could think. And those same eyes can fear even the superior being when mastered to the core. But all those things were his future strengths. He was my grandson, after all. He would overcome everything as long as he believed and continued forward. Master, fall asleep already. That's so? Good. I nodded and continued looking at the sky. Seals, his dear partner, was with me, watching the wonders of the night. But though she was here, her mind was focused on her master's worries. She was cute, and he was really lucky to have such magnificent companion. Don't worry, little butterfly. He will do well. I reassured her and patted her small head. She was rare and very special to not like. I know, and I know he knows it too, but still worries me for no reason. I don't know why, but I could feel he was worried about something else. Even though he is happy we will finally go back to our family, he's afraid of something. Something he really doesn't want to happen. Of course, he is worried, and he won't tell this innocent one, though he's doing the right thing. Looking at her, I smiled warmly. It will be fine, Celestine. Don't worry too much. I reassured her and stood up. This was the top of the tower, and there was nothing aside from this magic circle. We did not use it for teleportation like others in the tower. It was a special thing. Though there's no need for it right now. Let's go back, Seals. Children should sleep at this hour. I extended my hand with a sigh that she didn't understand and just sat on it. Shaking my head at this little, young butterfly, I teleported into Ian's room. A beast mark was the most comfortable place for Familiar to rest, and practicing the whole day like that was definitely tiring for her. Good night, Seals. You too, Ian. I greeted them with a kiss on their forehead, and she went to her mark after greeting me in a sleepy voice. He was sleeping peacefully, and the gentle, blue moonlight was shining on his face, enhancing his charm. There will be many young ladies who would fall for him at first glance, but she would be the only perfect one for him. The future is always uncertain, but I hope things do happen as I hope them to. No one knew what will happen anyway, so hoping was the only thing a helpless grandma like me could do. On the 33rd floor of this tower, the alchemy lab, I was standing before a complicated piece of equipment made of glass. Many pieces of equipment made of glass were decorating the whole giant room that was on the smaller side of the floors of this great tower. I was making something important right now. It has been almost a year, so I knew the exam master mentioned will be here any day. I had to do the final preparations. Surprisingly, my proficiency in alchemy had increased considerably. I could now process materials that even high-grade, experienced ones might not be able to perform. But it was only possible because of this masterful equipment that made almost the entire process automatic. Everything in this place, from the little spoon to take the material to that giant fridge, all the things were artifacts created by her. These things were her creation, and I had never seen most of them in any books I had read during my stay in this place. I had read many books, more than I had decided in the quiet library with slowed time. I had finished that one shelf as well as many other books that caught my eye. We had everything in this tower, everything. This place was a miracle created by an unparalleled being, and she was an amazing person on top of all these things. She didn't change from how she was, instead, she never brought up the test in all this time. I knew she wouldn't mention something like that again, but, well, I focused on the training with all my heart, reading as many books as I can, gaining more proficiency with my skills and body, and practicing with her in the weekly spars that were still continuing. Learning and creating new magic, experimenting with my origin skill, and making things that could help me increase my overall strength. Just like right now, there is a complex process going on before me in their glass-like equipment. They were like those old chemistry tools, but the unusual patterns on them as well as the glowing magic circles that did all the process were amazing to see. I was making a potion that could increase the mana pool, but I knew no one other than me, or with a mental fortitude like me, can consume it. The ingredients were potent, and if not for the protective mask and white lab clothes I was wearing, there might be accidents. With the mana-rich herbs I chose and the ingredients available in this lab, I had been testing this thing for the last some weeks. A person's mana pool was related to the body and the mana nucleus. In general, increasing the pool and purity of mana was the most difficult thing possible. You can use potions to recover mana, but increasing the natural amount of mana one can hold was impossible by current means. Well, even a 1% increase, something one might say was nothing much, was drastic for a mage. Having more mana was a good thing, but artificially increasing the mana pool was an arduous task. No potion can do such a thing, but there were some rare people and divine artifacts that can do such a thing. But, as I said, it would be mostly a 1 or 2% increase. The thing I was making was half of my own recipe while I gathered the research data from the library books on ancient alchemy and my master. I could ask her any questions I wanted and she would answer me with the best of her hints. I had tried this and failed countless times already these weeks, but this time I was confident. I knew I could do it this time. The large test tubes, flasks, and other types of equipment with distinct color enchantment and magics were processing the highest mana ingredients, stabilizers, and helping agents. This chemical process was more difficult than medicine making, and I knew what I wanted to do was impossible at the first glance. But if I was the one to consume this thing, then everything will be all right. This potion will affect the mana nucleus directly, sending the highest density of mana in the potion to the core, and the core would almost burst with that overflowing energy. Enduring it was one thing, but being able to handle the effects and aftereffects of this thing needed a mind that can remain sane in the process and something other than mana that can help the overflowing energy channel through the body. And I also had my energy circulation skill that will help me even though I will try it alone. The failures were heartbreaking, but this was already a success. I had run the test simulations in the research room, so I was sure that this normal water-like liquid gathered in the small flask at the end of this half-room covered an enormous group of artifacts. The many things at the start of this process were chopped, mixed, ground, mixed, purified, and gone through many processes to get there. I was waiting with my eyes, observing every process of the artifacts. It was almost finished, and there should be no problem now. At last, something that can increase my mana pool by at least 10% was now within my reach. And my expectations were answered when the last drop from the instrument fell in the flask, making my wild heart slow down. Ok. Taking a deep breath, I slowly turned off all artifacts and closed the glass container. This lab was no place to take something like this, so, walking out on the teleport circle in the hall, I looked at the ring in my hand. This was a special key master gave me a while back, and I can use this to go to any floor as well as to the first floor summoning room from anywhere. Meaning, I can come back here whenever I wanted. That was a joyous moment when I learned that I can come back here. I was thinking of how to bring this up, but she just gave me such a precious artifact causally. I could never express my thanks to her, but I was happy. This ring was a special one. Channeling some mana, I appeared on the 22nd floor with an endless white area. This was one of those scary-looking pure white, endless rooms of movies, but this one was different. I can do things like this here and I would at least be safe because of the protection magic and such this room was mad for. I won't die at the very least, so I can do weird stuff freely here. Taking out the mask and lab coat and storing it away in my storage space, I sat down on the ground. My clothes were also artifacts, which was quite weird, but they were protective gear, so it was fine. Opening the glass container, I first called Seals, who was with the master in the fruit garden. That place was also marvelous, as well as all the places that produced food in this tower. There was a floor for almost everything, from vegetables, fruits, and herbs, to the common garden with that divine artifact. And they were harvesting some fruits similar to strawberries. I can see them through her vision, and they sure were having a blast. "Oh, Master, how is your experiment going?" she asked, noticing I was looking at their fun. She was as close to Master as me, and as both of them were ladies, they played in the tower more than me. Well, it was good. "Oh, looks like you finished the potion that can increase the mana pool. Marvelous," Master complimented as she put a fruit which looked exactly like a strawberry but was brown-colored in the basket. I had tasted it, and its flavor was closer to a peach than a strawberry. Grandma was smiling, but her eyes contained worry. I knew this would be her reaction, and I was right. I knew her well from all the time we had spent together, and she was going to say something common now. "Though you completed it, and it's a wonderful thing, be careful when consuming it. The highly potent herbs can cause excruciating pain, and you might feel as if needles are being poked in every internal organ. It's your decision, so I won't stop you. I know you will be all right, but drink the red potion after you complete the process." Exactly what I thought. And the answer to this common worry was also decided already. "I will be all right, so don't worry." I reassured her and came back to the endless white room. Looking at the transparent, water-like liquid in the flask, I gulped a mouthful of saliva and took a deep breath. Here goes nothing. Closing my eyes, I gulped down the whole tasteless potion with the smell of alcohol. The liquid was smooth, and it slid down my throat just like water. But then, not even a second had passed and the effect started. Cock! With a loud, agonizing groan, I bit down on my lips. Blue vines started appearing all over my body, starting from the place my mana core was. The pain intensified with each passing minute, and the vines now covered my whole body. Even my eyes were red from the surging pain. This was tough, but nothing compared to her training. I would survive this pain more than those merciless beatings. Ah! The pain was intense, and as she said, it was like countless needles poking my insides. I could bear it because of the high mental fortitude, but it was getting harder with each passing second. The blue vines were getting darker, and the pain around my mana nucleus was the most intense. It was like all the mana was piercing the core, making the walls wider and thicker. During the process I broke through to Tier 1. There was something similar like this, but it was natural pain. But this forceful process was dangerous, so I knew no weak could endure this kind of pain. It was also because I was guiding all the mana with Soul Nova that the process was going that smoothly, but things were changing with each minute. My control over Soul Nova was far better than mana, so the process was bearable, but it was getting difficult. But at the same time, I knew I was closer to what I needed. The mana was stabilizing in my core, making the walls of the mana nucleus wider, and the excess mana was gathering around the core, reinforcing the walls. The process was slowing down, and hot sweat covered my body. I was drenched, and I didn't know how long had passed. Maybe a lot less than what I felt, but I had achieved the needed results. Yes! I smiled and took out the red potion the master made and gulped it down with sweaty hands. This was a special healing potion that can heal any injuries in an instant, be it internal, fatal, external, or psychological. This was an elixir, and strangely, I had many bottles of these things. She just gave me boxes full of them one day, saying they were just rotting in the lab. She made them out of boredom, and there were now tons of them in my white crack. They were an elixir, which was the highest grade healing potion before holy water, and I knew this was far more valuable than the extremely rare advanced potions. I had achieved my goal, and now I was confident of killing many yellow-ranked beasts at once. I could feel it. My mana pool has increased by almost 9%. This was miraculous, and if this potion gets into the market, Even wars could start for just a single vial. Alas, even though many like my grandfather can use it, just making one of these was difficult, even for me. Yes, I had the most resources here, but it wasn't unlimited. The things that I used were almost at the level of Angel Rose, something thought to be extinct. I will make some another time, definitely not now. Though I can't consume it again for a long time because of the limitations, I knew waiting a few years was worth it if we were talking about the mana pool. I was now ready for her test, and I believed I would be okay with anything possible thrown at me. Well, I at least knew she will not ask something totally impossible. And if there was a chance, I will have to find it and clear it. Today was tiring but good enough. I sighed and laid back on the pure white floor. Status window. Name, Axion Cromit. Age 11. Strength, 118. Dexterity, 116. Stamina, 120. Magic power, 153. Intelligence, 134. Luck, 77. Charm, 78. Skill, energy circulation, quickstep, appraisal, shadow dive, mana vision, shadow curtain, energy burst, stark triangle, mana shield. Origin skill, Sun's blessing, intermediate mastery. 3 eyes, stage 2. Dynamic heart, stage 1. White crack, stage 1. My mana was almost at the level of higher level, tier 4 mages, but I was still just a tier 3. That was quite a big number if I had to say, because after 100 it was too difficult to raise the stat by even 1. Aside from intelligence, which was based on the knowledge and wisdom of the individual, and luck and charm, which were given by the world, all stats were based on the physical body. My soul was strong enough that I can stay in that form for a while, but it also helped me understand the magic and magical things better. That was the specialty of being in astral form, and I was fortunate to have mastered it this much. My body contained mana, aura, and soul nova, so my overall MP was naturally that high. I had finally achieved aura after a while of hearing the test, and my aura was magnificent. I loved just how it looked, felt, and burned. It was pure power, and so I was happy to have such powers. My family was also doing far better than before, and things were going calmly. My 2 rivals were getting stronger, and now they were stronger than me in their own fields. Carla was a stronger knight than me without a doubt, and Alf was a genius mage far better than most, but it will still be difficult against me. Well, those 2 were fun, and every letter and talk we had was filled with exciting things. I even taught Alf some things, or more like writing in the letter, so everyone learned it, but they definitely helped them. I had resources, and I could share with them some of the safe knowledge I had, if not all. Not that I doubted they would tell someone how to create the high-end explosive or deadly poisons. Some things were safe with me, no need to tell others until necessary. The knowledge I had just after reading some 1,000 books was probably more than enough for now. So I was ready for her test. In fact, I was looking forward to the day. But one thing was still concerning, and that concern could only be resolved after seeing it through. I didn't want to think too deep about it, so I always just avoided it, not that she didn't know. Well, standing up from the ground, I checked the time on my special pocket watch. This thing was also special. I still couldn't believe there was a room filled with different artifacts and I can just have anything I wanted from there. Didn't that mean I was the richest in the empire too? Not that money matters to me that much, but it was still something. And I had yet to see the 51st floor, the treasury. HAA. Just how many times have I sighed today? Shaking my head and confirming I was all right, I went to the kitchen. It was already night, so the master should have prepared the dinner. Her cooking was truly unparalleled, and every time I ate something new, it would surprise me beyond belief. My grandma was truly marvelous. Sitting in the kitchen on a peaceful morning, I was drinking a good cup of morning coffee. The room was quiet as always, and this serene atmosphere was heart-calming. This was a good morning. It has been a month since I made that potion and increased my mana pool, and things were just like always. Normal. It was really amazing to see just how much a difference of 9 presence could have on a person. But it was a lot. I can cast 2 more tier 3 spells with just that much increase, which was a big difference. In normal circumstances, I couldn't even cast 10 or so, tier 3, spells, but now I could do it if I tried hard. I was confident that I can kill a green, ranked monster if I tried my hardest with just my strength. But things might get difficult if it is a berserk creature. Not that I will have to fight something like that for a while now. And I knew I would win anyhow. The month has passed quietly, and I had just practiced, read books, trained my energy arts, and did some last fine-tuning to Asta. That arrow, sphere, lance, or whatever I call him, was an amazing being. It was more powerful than the highest rank level 12 artifact, but not at the level of a divine artifact. I used the term pseudo-divine artifact to describe it, and my master had made her a long time ago. That weapon was my partner as well as my blank slate. I can make any number of enchantments on it and it will accept all of them. Just like programming a machine, I can program many things and it will work perfectly on it. I didn't know just how could such a wonderful weapon be just rotting in the weaponry of this tower, but it wasn't like this was the only thing rotting there. Yes, this was one of the most special things, but there were countless weapons on the 40th floor. It was literary weaponry filled with almost all kinds of weapons, ranging from normal wooden weapons made of original woods to weapons like this one and some low-end divine artifacts too. That place was a treasure trove for those who loved weapons, and I knew if Carla was here, she would take every single sword with her. Well, she was a sword fanatic from what Grandpa said in the letters, so I had a sword prepared in mind for her when I return. Carla had grown strong a lot, and she had the talent to wield every weapon as long as it was a sword. Every single one, be it a short sword as short as a knife, to giant broadswords that can smash a mountain. She would wield such swords as if they were nothing, from what they said in letters. She was the troublemaker of the house, and my darling Anna had to calm everyone after her mess. They were doing good, so I wasn't worried, and I had worked hard all this time, so I wanted to take this morning off and just sit here and do nothing. Doing nothing is the best thing if you can, and it would be tough to change my mind on this topic. This coffee was a great one, and I knew what I was drinking this time. 3 Eyes. Cotilliac Franchio. A masterfully brewed coffee grew up in a calm environment. You have done grinding and brewing of beans like an expert, making the flavors pop up with a single touch on the tongue. The harsh desert camel milk used in the coffee has harmonized the flavor, perfectly enhancing the feel and aroma. The calming effect, as well as the energy restoration effect gained after consuming it, would last for 3 hours. In the general perspective, one could say that this 1 cup of coffee is more helpful for the day than normal morning beverages. You have a great taste for things, and your mastery in making such beverages is quite good. What do you mean, quite good?
I'm awesome.
I shouted at the expected type of reply. This skill of mine would tell too much if I knew some things already and then judge things like a third-person opinion. It was interesting, and I liked just how good it was. I have tried this skill on almost anything I had. From books, food, artifacts, floor, chair, the spoon to this tower and grass outside. Some were surprisingly more detailed, while some normal things that I already knew were normal come out with a cold reply like "why waste time?" and a very long chunk of info. This skill was quite moody sometimes, though I liked the evaluations it gave. Well, things were looking good, and the coffee was also doing the work, calming my whole body. With my eyes closed and some low music playing, the morning breeze on the high floor and the fresh light, as well as the sweet smell of coffee. Just sitting here with my eyes closed and enjoying this was a soul-soothing feeling, and I wanted to relax like this for the whole day. Such a beautiful thought. Wish it could have come true. Ian. What the hell? It was Master, and she had crawled up behind me. I didn't feel her at all, and with my eyes closed, I didn't even see her. The coffee in my mouth was sprayed on the table, and my calm heart had blasted with surprise. This bastard of a heart should have signaled me when someone was this close, but no? The hack? Looks like I startled my dear student. She chuckled with a radiant smile as I looked back. She was laughing in her normal, cheery voice, but there was something very weird with what she called me just now. What did you say, Grandma? Student? Does that mean? I was almost certain that the time had come because she had never called me a student in normal situations like this in the entire past year. I was fairly certain what she was up to, and from the smile on her face, it was pretty clear I was actually right. Hoo hoo. Yes, that's right. Today is your test. My dear student Axion. She was strangely energetic today, and the sudden decision to take the test had to be on this beautiful day. Why today of all days? Was she making fun of me having some peaceful time? Does it have to be today? I asked, knowing she wasn't going to change the decision, and it was answered with just a silent smile. I didn't want to leave this peaceful place. My peaceful morning, this cool place, and calm music. Why the hell did she have to decide it on the day I was finally having a nothing-doing day? I wanted to cry like a little baby whose ice cream has been stolen, but this wasn't the time to dwell on such pitiful things. After finishing the coffee, I took a deep breath and looked at her cheerful face. She was especially happy today. Was it just because of the test, or was there something more than that? I could only know after whatever this test she was giving me was. Sighing deeply, I looked deep inside those fiery, pure blue eyes. Let's go, Grandma. I think I'm ready. I was more than ready to take whatever was going to be thrown at me. I will clear this, even if I had to push myself to the very limits. Here ends my lovely, peaceful morning. Hope I survive this deadly exam. I said my prayers to the sun and nature, and we walked out of this peaceful place. Standing in the vast grass fields, a pretty boy and an alluring lady were looking at each other. Just looking. The boy had wide eyes, asking what the hell was going on or what he was supposed to do. The lady was just looking at this boy with a warm smile, enjoying everything without saying anything. Some distance away, sitting on a red flower, a crystal-winged butterfly was watching this unfold with no particular emotion. She could feel her master's feelings, so she knew there was nothing special about this situation, just the master's master being herself. He was looking at her, deep within those pure blue eyes, with a fire burning inside them. But aside from this meaningless staring competition, nothing was going on in these endless grass fields. In the quiet, sweet morning, the grass dancing with the cool winds, clouds moving at their own pace, this duo was wasting time. The boy was just staring at her, asking no questions, while the lady was having fun with this waste of time. But the boy wasn't happy, far from it. He was angry that his morning, his precious nothing-doing day was turned into an exam day, and even after giving up on his dreams of having a chill, he was met with this silent, staring competition. He thought she would say something soon. Something now, something in a bit, something at the very least. He was patiently waiting for her to say what the test was. Or was this the test? She couldn't possibly be messing around with such seriousness, but looking at her behavior right now, it was doubtful that she was just enjoying his agony of the moment. It has been almost an hour since they were doing such a thing, but the boy had had enough. Looking at her with a blink, he asked, "Master? What are you doing?" This was weird after doing practically nothing but staring at him with a gentle smile and a calm face. It was as if she was looking at him for the last time, to her heart's content or something. But after his question, she had to stop herself and she took 3 steps back, signaling him to get ready with a suddenly serious face. This confused the boy beyond belief, as well as annoyed him greatly. First, she ruined his morning, then she just smiled at him without saying anything, and then this sudden seriousness. He didn't know what to do, but he had faced her sudden mood swings many times, so this one was easy to overcome. Taking a deep breath, he also took some steps back and looked at her for what was to come. With the same fire in her eyes, she looked at him with a gentle gaze for the last time and then sighed with closed eyes. Serious again, she finally spoke after that long. "Axion, my dear student, you already have excellent knowledge and foundation, so this test will be just a simple task. All you have to do is kill one energy beast, and that is all. Use everything, or at least the most efficient way to kill it. I don't care how you do it, you just have to show me what you want." Her voice was stern, and she was serious, but her way of saying one energy beast sent chills down his spine with pure horror. She said one, meaning this was something enough to test his overall skills. His heart started racing with fear and excitement at finally facing something stronger for the first time after his training. His first fight was with a powerful foe, and just the thought of it was making him smile in excitement. And there was a smirk on his master's face while looking at his excited look. He noticed this smirk and felt something odd about this situation. But before he can say anything, his master spoke up with an excited voice. "Okay then, let's start right away. We don't have much time, so do your best." "Ah, you have already met this one, so you will have fun with him." "What the hell?" was clearly written all over the boy's face as he heard those words. It was fun for her, but she didn't waste any more time and snapped her fingers just after her words faded away in the surroundings. Snap! A translucent red barrier covered them, and she was transported out of it. Left alone in the enormous barrier alone, the boy looked back when he sensed the fluctuations of energy. A magic circle appeared in the air and a giant figure fall from it. A giant, black figure froze the boy on its spot. He had seen this creature, and it was the start of this boy's nightmarish experience of this forest. With a size of 6 meters, while standing on his 4 legs, with bloodshot eyes full of rage, the fire that burned everything in 1 meter as soon as it stood up, and the bad feeling that overwhelmed him calmed down for now. A creature that started his nightmares. A being that made him go through the first ever hell of this life. The bastard that was the reason he had many terrible memories highlighted in his vast mind. A huge pig that made him a mess on the first day he got into this forest. Just looking at him made his blood boil, and the boy smirked at the brightest he had ever been. "Thanks, Grandma," he shouted while looking back at her, and she gave him a thumbs up. Now, this was no test. The bright smirk on the boy's face showed just how much he loved this difficult situation he was put in. The opponent wasn't something he could easily defeat. This was a berserk, green, ranked creature of high fire and earth attribute. Though it might be unclear if this was the same one that attacked him, this berserk beyond helping creature was enough to get past that trauma and test his limits. So he was happy. He wanted to enjoy this moment looking over this creature, which was surely going to die. But, as the nature of any berserk creature went, the giant fire boar roared in anger as soon as it spotted the boy. He knew just how strong this 6-meter-tall creature in a full maddened state was. So he didn't take any time, and his body melted in the shadows of the small grass. And as the boy predicted, the pig didn't even take 5 seconds to close the distance of some kilometers. It was his first time seeing it firsthand, but the fire covering this creature's muscular legs was angry red. Dark red, unlike his master's hair. Just the mere presence of this creature was overwhelming, and the boundless bloodlust choked him even in the shadows. But the happiness on his face was still the same. This fight was going to be long, and the sheer excitement was filling the boy's entire being. Skill duration was naturally short, so there was little time for him to prepare. Things would be difficult, and he knew. So he didn't hold back and transferred every necessary thing from his white crack to his storage bracelet. The skill's time ended, and he had finished his preparations in that time. As soon as he came out of the shadows, the boar sensed him and the earth shook under them. The boy had already anticipated this one, so there was no worry on his face, and black darkness covered the place the boy was standing. Tremble, tremble, tremble. The ground was torn on that spot, and the whole place the darkness covered, along with a half-meter radius circle. The ground fell, earth spikes rose and pierced every inch of that place, and a pillar of fire followed after that. A crimson fire that looked ugly and impure. In comparison to her magic, or even his lacking skills and magic, this ugly but strong fire was enough to scorch the green ground. This could have been the end for anyone without any experience in a proper fight, but things were different for this boy. The black screen was still there, the ground was scorched, and the boy was standing far away from that place, holding a golden long arrow. The arrow looked precious and strong, and it was clear that this was no normal weapon. That pleased smirk was still there, as he was using a special invisibility spell designed for creatures adapted at hearing and smell than eyes. He was having fun, but it had just begun. "Asta, break law 1," he said, and the arrow in his hand started flaying on its own. It floated in the air beside him, waiting for the next orders from its master. Let's see what was the creature that showed me my first hellish experience in this hell, he said with a bright smile. And his eyes turned blue. 3 eyes. Giant fire boar. Strength, 131. Dexterity, 121. Stamina, 112. Magic power, 115. Intelligence, 102. Skills: strong mana body, fire strides, earth shatter, earth spikes, fire pillar, berserk overload, high smell, sharp hearing, fire spheres, free mana breathing. The creature has gone beyond the saving in its berserk state. The high intelligence it gained by sacrificing its sanity is terrifying. If I were you, I would never go up against this monster. Not when it's like this. Take my advice, O weak one, forfeit. That would be best. What? I exclaimed in utter confusion as I looked at that blood-red status window of this creature. First those comments about this creature, then those exaggerated numbers, and lastly, that intelligence. Not even Gar, a creature who can talk, or his companions, had that kind of intelligence. Not only that, this boar had the most skills I had seen in an energy beast. First, this was no ordinary monster. Second, I had to kill it. And then this skill of mine. Forfeit the match? Weak one? You bet. I knew this creature was at least stronger than me, in almost most ways. It was superior, but it had a fatal flaw I couldn't look away from. It was mad. A berserk monster. Even if it was superior with high stats, it wasn't at the level of impossible. Well, every creature would be weak when you fight a catastrophically strong being like her. I was confident of defeating this one, just that I will have to make some sacrifices. Asta Seals, let's start. Yes. She answered with a radiant voice and came out of her mark. Even this weapon carrying a special ego was excited about this tough fight. Well, Asta was special in many ways, and it was my partner. Taking out a cool-looking white bow, which was apparently a level 9 artifact I got in the position. Of course, it was just a random bow like many I had in the White Crack. I didn't have the main bow or a favorite one, not for now at least. Nothing worked as well with me as this arrow. Of those countless weapons in weaponry, not a single one resonated as well with me as Asta. Well, everything was better than most, so I didn't worry at all. Master already said there was a perfect one dying to be one with me, and ignoring that weird phrasing, it meant there was a weapon perfectly compatible with me somewhere in this tower. Well, there was only the 51st floor, the grandest and most special place, Treasury, that could have something like that. I could go anywhere in this tower, and I knew a lot about this place after living here for almost 3 years, but I wasn't allowed on some floors. Not for the time being. Maybe I can go after this fight? Well, I have to win this utter one-sided thing first. Let's go, I announced, and the invisibility spell broke. With bloodshot eyes, the boar looked at me, exactly in my eyes, and roared once again. Even its voice was weird. Shadow dive. I vanished, and at the same time, a ball of scorching hot fire shot at that place. Boom! The explosion was loud, but things became strangely quiet after this attack. The confused boar looked around, failing to notice me under its enormous body. Asta was invisible all this time, but as soon as I reached the weak spot of this boar, coming into sight, it vibrated in an ear-piercing noise. This boar had a weak vision, but its hearing power was far superior to many beasts. But its supreme sense was its giant boar nose. It could detect anything if it had even a little distinct scent than the surroundings, but I had my beloved seals this time. We couldn't do it before, but now we can completely erase the presence, sound, smell, or even the light waves passing by us. We can completely become one with our surroundings, just that it took high mental power to maintain that form. Even with the golden fruit, we could only maintain this for around 3 minutes consecutively. Thankfully, this one didn't have a large cooldown, and we can use it every other minute after the use. But it was enough to deal a fatal blow to this creature. High water pillar. Against a fire and earth affinity creature, water would naturally be more powerful. And this was a Soul Nova spell, so there was no way this creature with no affinity with the spell could sense it. I was almost under this male boar, and the spell was more powerful than a Tier 3 spell. Casting it was easy as I had the beautiful blue pearl the hippo gifted, so it took far less concentration, even for a high-level spell like this. If only it had hit this bastard. I don't know how, but it sensed the attack, or at least a threat to its life, and ran forward without hesitation. Truly, this bastard had even more battle sense than other creatures. It would be a perfect creature in a war, and maybe some places do use it as a war mount. Well, my perfect sneak attack was ruined, and the pillar of water that shot out of the ground gave away my location. Moo! And this bastard didn't waste even a second to use the earth spikes. One on the left, two on right, and one under me? That bastard! I shouted mentally and took out 4 enchanted metallic arrows. The invisibility from seals was still there, but I can't use Shadow Dive right now. There was the only way to avoid getting hurt this early in the fight. Channeling some mana in my black boots, or the versatile boots, an artifact with high jump enchantment, I tapped the ground. As if an arrow, they shot me floating in the sky, and I covered the 4 arrows in my hands with pure white energy different from mana. The spikes collided with each other and failed to deal any damage to me. The boar was some distance away, but, while in the air, the invisibility ended. Master. Sorry. She apologized hurriedly and became visible around me. But thankfully I was still airborne, floating in the same place I was stopped. Lesser Fly. An easier version of the flying spell that can at least stop one in the air. Though it took a lot of mana, it wasn't as high as the amount I can recover from the surroundings naturally. The fruit was a great help, but there was a problem. The black pig roared, and 1, 2, 3, 15 magic circles appeared around him. Well, damn. I gasped in shock as his skill channeling finished instantly. Damn. Its speed was closer to my arrows, and even before I could think properly, the earth spikes were released. Shit! Cussing the pig for the last time, I channeled a large amount of Soul Nova into these 4 different colored arrows and shot them without much thinking. Boom! 15 earth spikes of almost 1 meter length and half-meter width were halfway to me. As if I would let them pass. Everything was happening at a speed no normal human could perceive. The red, green, blue, and brown arrows were faster than the sound, and the boom after the release had broken the sound barrier. A spark appeared between the 4 of them as they made a rectangular shape and then suddenly joined together. Asta now! The 4 arrows became one and were replaced by a bright yellow light. Moo! The berserk pig shouted as if shocked by this sudden appearance of the spell, but it should have focused on the surroundings. The boar screamed with an agonizing scream as an arrow covered with low-pressure water collided with it. It pierced its back legs, and it fell to the ground, screaming in excruciating pain. At the same time, the yellow light covered almost as much area as these earth spikes. The light was blinding, but the way it covered all those spikes was the indication of its absurd strength. Good. Now let's go. The pig had hit the ground and a large smoke had covered my front vision. The way the pig fell was natural and I thought that was it, but that was close. I gasped after dodging 2 spikes shot just after this pig was injured. Thanks to my third eye, I saw the whole fight from a different angle and I was able to dodge this one. The pig bastard had faked that last one, and it stood up unharmed after noticing I was alive. Intelligent basted. I cussed and vanished once again. Faking an injury? Not even that slime was intelligent enough to do something like that. This fight would be more difficult than I thought. That last attack with Asta was close to a tier 4 spell, and that pig was standing there as if the pain was nothing to it. The blood was gushing out of the wound, but the pig had a smirk as he looked at me. Crap. It just predicted this one, right? I wondered, and while flaying down as fast as I can, I flipped my body to the left and dodged the sudden fire attack. This time, it was an earth spike covered in those dirty crimson flames. Skill combination? Barely avoiding the hit and managed to land on the ground safely. That was unbelievable. A green, ranked creature being able to combine the skill with this much proficiency? Holy Mother of Crocodiles. This creature was a rare one, blessed with the gift of knowledge and wisdom. Despite its low natural racial intelligence, this abnormal one had far better battle sense than any regular beast. This would be difficult, and a battle of attrition was the only way to stop that pig. Didn't think I will use this one this soon. But, well, going all out against just a berserk, green, ranked creature was meaningless from the start. What my skill said was true, and there was no way I could beat that thing on my own. But, after preparing for a year, there was no way I haven't thought of this possibility. I was overgeared. The level 9, Bow, a pseudo-divine artifact with countless enchantments, tons of scripted spells, and an absurd amount of elixir that can heal health, stamina, and mana. Many mass-produced arrows like the one from before and my marvelous seals. Even with my physical and body limitations, I believed even a lesser, indigo, ranked creature would be possible for me. And I was only counting mana and soul nova as energy sources. There was no need to use the high-power aura for this disgraceful creature. 3 eyes. You have a lot to learn, darling. I smirked and my body melted in shadows. Pig roared and the surrounding earth shattered as large spikes of earth, bigger than before, started appearing one by one. The mana into the surrounding surged towards it, making a visible fog of dense mana. He was breathing in this dense cloud of mana, gathering more energy than before. At that rate, I was sure its mana regeneration will be faster than the skill usage. Well, damn. Again. I could see my master this whole time, and she had set up a tea table under an enormous umbrella and was watching my fight with a pleased smirk. I knew she was just doing this for her fun. At least that was the only conclusion I can think of after seeing that pleased smirk. Deciphering the thoughts of this higher being I respected as my master and loved as my grandma was one of my bucket list tasks. That might never come true. As I was looking at her from some distance with my third eye, she smiled and waved at me. How does she even see this third eye? Sighing deeply, I tightened the grip on my bow and took out a quiver full of the special arrows like before. This tower was amazing, and one of the floors here had a divine artifact that can make the programmed items. That thing was a cheat, and having abundant resources was the biggest blessing this tower offered. I actually had more weapons in my white crack that could support a small-scale war. Who knows what I will even use them for? But they were there. Well, if I really had to. The pig was ready even before I expected it. Asta, execute Act 1, I said, and my lance-like arrow returned to my hands. Quickly channeling my fast, pure white soul nova, I filled it with new energy. A runic pattern of blue covered its body, and the red gem at its end blinked like heartbeats. Asta was special because it can use any energy as its power source, and one of the most broken aspects of it was its ability to gather environmental energy and amplify the spells to a whole new level. Oh? Finishing it this quickly? Master asked for the first time in this long battle, and even that, with a sad voice? Now I was even more certain she didn't just want to have some fun. She already knew the outcome, so she didn't even try to give the hint. I could have entertained her far more than this, but something was off. Something wasn't right with her behavior today. Even though I knew her mood swings, that hour-long stare, this happy expression, that strong pig, I had an uneasy feeling, and after hearing that expected answer just now, my mind became more chaotic. Let's talk later, Grandma. I should focus on this pig. I answered, and just for a second, an almost unnoticeable moment, her eyes changed from a warm look to a mournful look. Master, let's finish this, seals. Asta, I'm counting on you, sweetie. After shoving the end of Asta into the ground and confirming the gathering of soul nova from the surroundings, I vanished, and so did Asta. We were connected with a special bond, so I can feel the uneasiness she had but didn't show it openly. Seals was also feeling something weird about the situation but focused her attention on the enemy before our eyes. Let's end this, I mumbled in a stern voice as the new spheres of earth and fire shot at the place we were standing. In some vast grass fields, a translucent red barrier was covering a giant area. Painted in its boiling red blood, a giant creature was panting with his lunges out. Its blood-ridden body, those countless colorful glowing arrows that made him a dark thing covered with celebration lights. The grass melted at the touch of that blood. The given-up blood-red eyes that didn't want anything else. The creature that had once defied logic and held high intelligence was now at its death's door. There was no energy left in him, while the scars on his body released blood, as if deliberately pumping it out. The boar was almost dead, and the one that made this creature like this was standing some distance away in a cloak of darkness. The fight had lasted for some hours, and this was an almost late day for this place. The sun was on their heads, shining brightly, while the boy drank a red potion, recovering the deep scar on his chest. There were burn marks on his visible body too, so this fight wasn't one-sided. But even though the boy was in such a sorry state, there was a pleased smile on his face as he looked at this boar. The creature that gave him his first nightmare as soon as he entered this forest was now on the verge of death. And, most of all, the boy wasn't hurt at all, not after drinking the red elixir. It healed him, and the stamina and mana he lost in the fight were also recovering at a high speed. The golden necklace around his sweaty, red neck was shining with a dull golden light, increasing the effect of the elixir taken. A lance with its end buried in the ground was gathering special energy from the surroundings, and the complex magic circle under it was now almost pure white. The fight was good, but it would end here. "Okay, Asta," the boy said with a smile, and the surrounding darkness moved to the place with the lance. Putting the unique bow in his storage bracelet, he took out the lance after the magic circle disappeared. The creature cried in agony, not even able to use the mana channels blocked by the glowing arrows. "Rest in eternal peace," he prayed, and taking a step back, he took a throwing stance. "Throw of the bright sun," he mumbled under his breath, tightened the grip on the weapon, covered the lance in a yellow-white light, and threw it with all of his strength. Boom! The force behind this throw was abnormally strong. The yellow-white light glowed brighter, covering the spear and making it a beam of light. Two energies circled it, increasing the force of the attack. The intelligent pig knew this was it. This was his death. So, he didn't even try to resist and just accepted his death with open arms and closed eyes. For a creature gone past the limits of saving, this quick death was just mercy. The boy had a somewhat sad expression, but he shook it off and prayed with his hands joined as a large light collided with his head, obliterating his skill and showering flesh in the surrounding area. Blood rained down from the sky, away from the place he stood. "Master, I'm done," he said and looked back at the lady sipping a cup of tea. She looked carefree about what was happening there, even though it was her test. Looking back at him, she just nodded and said in his mind, "Tank out the core and store that body." Somewhat okay. He wasn't even surprised by the fact that she knew there was a core, but a green, ranked energy core? His eyes lit up by this news, and he reached the dead body of the creature after confirming its death. The rain of blood had stopped, and the golden lance was still stuck at the obliterated brain of the creature. Without hesitation, he took out the lance-like arrow from the mess of organ and flesh with a calm heart. Walking ahead, he slashed the arrow with a shining blue tip and cut his abdomen. Storing the arrow in a unique white crack, he shoved his hand into the body again. This would have been even more gruesome for even a strong being, but this boy did this without hesitation. All the squishy feeling of touching the inside of a creature with fiery hot blood was nothing to this boy. Taking out his hand, which held a large round red crystal, he looked at it with a surprised look. His eyes turned blue for a moment, and the information of the red sphere with golden sand dancing inside popped up before him. Energy core. Energy core of a superior green, ranked creature. The energy inside the core is 450 units of the common grading system. In terms of the ancient measuring system, this one holds 1.5 times the normal green, ranked core's energy. You are a lucky bastard to get your hands on something precious like this. The mana body this core comes from should have a great mana affinity, so make sure you get everything you can. Looking at the information and those unique words, an angry smile replaced the boy's radiant smile, and he clutched the core tightly. "You little... me? Bastard." He was frustrated by this information from his skill, but it was better than the appraisal he had. The appraisal skill was still useful in places where he wanted a summary of long information, so he used both of them according to situations. Sighing at his unique situation, he stored the core and the body of the creature in his white crack. At the same time, the translucent red barrier vanished. Using quick steps, the boy quickly reached the tea table his master set up. She looked at him and signaled for him to sit down. Sitting down without hesitation, he picked up the warm teacup and took a sip. Looking over his unharmed self, she sighed with relief and said, "Using 30% of your overall strength to kill a pig, looks like you were just playing and wasting your precious energy. You could have ended him in one runic spell if you wanted," she said while taking a sip of her third cup of tea. This was his first time seeing her drink her favorite precious tea she had cultivated for a long time. She rarely drank this specific one, saving it for a joyous occasion. She was acting weird today and he didn't like this. His heart, the same one that only raised in the face of true emotions, had an uneasy feeling. But what she said was true. "Yes, I could have. But those damn things put too much burden on me and I don't think I can use more than 2 at the same time. I might die, my beloved master, death. Why take enormous risks when I can do it the easiest way possible?" He gave her a fake smile and she caught that. He couldn't understand this weird feeling. As if he knew something was going to end or something like that. And she noticed it too. She knew he was sharp and his ability to feel things was on the spot. "Ian, how about I give you your reward for clearing this test?" she asked as she finished her cup of tea. These sudden words made him choke on this lavish tea. But he could manage not to throw this epitome of beverage and finished it in one gulp. That tea was something scarce, even in this tower, as she grew it with special techniques and things. Looking at her with a sudden horrified eye, he shouted, "What's going on, master? Why are you like this today? I feel weird." Her sudden words of reward weren't just weird. They were something she had never said during the time they were together. After his own words, the weird feeling he had grew even more. Something was very wrong here. He stood up from his chair and took a step back with fear-filled eyes. She looked at him with a sad look, and his heart started running wild. "Ian, I'm sorry," she apologized out of nowhere as she looked at the boy, and the table, chairs, and umbrella burned without a trace. Standing up, she looked at his sudden fear-filled face. She hadn't said anything and still, there were tears lingering at the ends of his eyes. She smiled at him apologetically and took a deep breath. This was sudden, out of blue and nothing like her, but she was looking at him with that face for the first time. The boy's mind became chaotic with a surge of weird thoughts and his eyes widened as the clear tear lingering around his eye slid down his cheek. He was looking at her, unknown of what she was going to do. "I never thought this day would come this early, dear. But I should give you your partner weapon I mentioned, right?" She smiled at him warmly while saying that. He did not understand what the hell was going on right now, but one thing was clear. Something bad was happening. She sighed once again, and a pure blue fire burned in her eyes. Restraints of Ifrit. The weird words that came out of her mouth made the boy shiver. He had never heard a power-filled voice like that, nor the words that can change the whole surroundings. An icy cold sweat slid down his back, and he was frozen in his place. He wanted to move, speak, and ask her what she was doing, but even before any words could come out of his mouth, weird blue chains wrapped around his body. A child appeared in a lonely life of an old bird. A child most special she had seen in her long, tiring lives. Someone special in many ways. Abnormal but amazing. An anomaly that should have never occurred in this nigh-perfect nature. A child of another world. Someone who had suffered from the loneliness and cruelty of that world. A child that survived with any means in that world, and this one too. He had no one but then. He found a family after he miraculously came into this world. He was a reincarnation, but even among those errors, this one had a great impact on the entire nature just from being present. A linear timeline changed, making him a singularity that existed in many. But this wasn't a bad thing. Nature loved him, and his life, though full of thorns, had light and feathers that would heal the bleeding feet. His origin was similar to this old bird, same as me, one of the most powerful ones of this nature. This boy, that survived death, fought with all his heart and reached the place she made to live after her long, boring lives. The bird was old, far more than the boy could think, and it wasn't such a good thing. Her dwelling, this magnificent tower, was just a structure she made out of her millennia-long boredom. She had just lived in the wait for her time to come. But then, this boy appeared in her life and changed everything. He was the perfect candidate she could find, and the perfect student she could ever ask for. This old bird was strong and had unparalleled wisdom and knowledge that stood at the pinnacle of the world. All this, and there was no one she could share this with until he came, with a mind similar to her own, a mind that could remember everything, and wisdom that was far more than what a child should have. The most special thing about this boy was his desire to live. His unparalleled desire to live in this world, go back to the family he had, and gain knowledge of this peculiar world of magic. Even if she ventured into the world, she may not find someone as perfect as this one. A student, a successor, and a grandson. She had lived her life in solitude, not that she cared about being with people. This old bird had seen the world for more than some gods now, making her a being incomparable to any. There weren't many being like her in this nature. But again, this didn't mean she liked this. To the bird, I had everything. All experience one would want, all riches, all knowledge one would need in this world. And even though new things were discovered and found every day, there was no need for me to know them. The world was now peaceful in most parts. It was quieter than those old days when a great war could break out at any moment. Wars between same species, different races, the war with demonic race, or even war with gods and others like me. Those were times of chaos, forgotten from this world. The times right now, the other races, the higher beings, and all were better than those old days. I remembered everything just like him, and everything, every moment. All those days were still clear in my mind. At that time, I was just a powerless being that lived among other races and survived with anything it took. At one time, I stood at the top of this world, looking down at every mortal creature. Never have I before thought a life that just passed for me after making this place would one day have such happiness. He called me Grandma, and he was the first being to call me that. My natural enchanting beauty didn't work on him because he had a similar origin as me, but still, calling me Grandma from the bottom of his heart was quite something. The time I asked him to become my successor was nothing but my selfishness. My one-sided desire to have the thing I had longed for in these long, tiring lives. He did not know what it meant to be my successor, and even at this moment when he was cruelly tied by those strong chains, he was clueless about what was happening. His chaotic thoughts were pitiful just like him. He was still thinking about why would his grandma would do such a thing, and I hated myself for doing such a cruel thing to the one I loved. I had taught him with all my heart, from combat and cooking to other things like gardening. He also learned with every fiber of his being and now had knowledge like no other. Almost 3 years had passed since the day we met, and now he was strong enough to go back to his parents. And I wanted him to go back as soon as possible, too. I could have done this after living with my beloved grandson for some more. But my love for him was undeniable, and there was no greater happiness in this lonely tower than to just play with him. The countless time I laughed with him, the cute faces he would make, to the fun we had together. There was no greater happiness for us than just being with each other, but he offered more. He learned all my basic teachings in this short time and became proficient in them. He taught me things he knew I already knew, but we delighted in these small things. He loved me as much as I did, maybe even more. And he did not have any selfish reason like me for that. He was a wonderful child and I should have lived with him for some more. But the time has come for us to part ways and for me to fulfill my last wish. But before that, looking at my dear Ian, who was chained with those blue chains that would help him with what was going to happen in that place, I smiled warmly like I usually did. You can go to the treasury whenever you want after today, but this first time will be different. So, take care. I waved at him and he calmed down a bit after looking at this smile. He understood me the most as a master and as a grandma. He knew I would never do something to harm him. The chains that looked tightly covering his whole body weren't hurting him at all, but he was going to get hurt. His very soul would scream when he enters that place, but if he overcomes that unbearable agony, he will have something few beings standing on the top possessed. I knew he would be alive at the very least, and so were the chains that would help his soul in the integration process. He will understand what I was doing right then, and he will confirm the answer he always denied. It will be some of the last gifts I would give him myself, but today would mark the day his life would change. Someone will go away from his life, and someone will come that he will have to protect with his entire being. They will get along well, but I don't know anything that would happen to her. All I could hope would be the two will be with each other, protecting each other with the same love I had for them. He might meet her sooner than expected, but these two will have a bond of family. If it was him, my student, my grandchild, and my successor, then they will hopefully be fine. Well, I didn't know the exact future, so there was no need to think too deeply about this. A part of me will always be with him, so he should do just fine. Only if he could act less foolishly, then he would be more perfect than now. But, well, I helplessly loved that side of him, too. Good luck, Ian. I know you can do it. I waved at him, and a golden magic circle appeared under him. He had calmed down enough to hesitantly nod his head with a confident look that still did not know what was going to happen to him. The golden light covered him, and his body started disintegrating into light particles. Good luck, Ian. I know you can do it. Believe in yourself. I said my last words, and he smiled at this selfish grandma before vanishing. 51st floor was an amazing place, and places that came close to it were numbered on fingers. Well, he was going to suffer severely for some time now, so I could just pray he comes out alive from that one. Dear Ian, it was unbelievable, but a being like me, someone that has seen countless wars, bloodshed, deaths, and all the negative shit of the world with stoic eyes, had tears lingering at the ends of those same eyes. To make a divine being such as me emotional, only he could do this. Divine light. A time when the sun goes down on the horizon and the sun's rays scattered in the atmosphere creates a heartwarming scene. Half golden and half dark with night, this horizon looked more fabulous in the vast grass fields. A setting sun at the far horizon, the rising sad blue moon, the faraway stars, this dancing grass, the calm breeze, and an unfathomable beauty standing in the middle of this field. She was stunning, as if a celestial being. Her figure was undeniably perfect, and there was a fire in her pure blue eyes. Real fire. A fire that burned fiercely as a magic circle appeared before her. The complex, golden magic circle shined with bright light, and some peculiar chains wrapped around a boy's body came out of it. His body, or maybe calling him a corpse would have been more appropriate if not for the eyes crying, the tears of blood, and his calm heartbeat. The chains that were perfectly fine some time ago before he vanished were now in the state of almost breaking down, and they vanished when the fire in her eyes went out. She walked up to the alive boy, and his entire body was covered in a warm green fire. Blood that was flowing out of every hole in his body stopped, and he started regaining new vitality. His wide-open, blood-covered eyes cleaned up, and he regained his consciousness after a while. "Don't move just now. Drink a red potion and then slowly get up," she said, and helped him drink the elixir. He almost healed after that, and a pure white flame suddenly coved his body. He gasped as he felt the warm touch on his body, but nothing hurt despite the fire being real. This fire was soul-soothing, something he really needed at this moment after his soul was almost disintegrated in nature. He had seen something impossible, and the things that happened in that short amount of time in that unreal place confirmed his doubts. After the fire vanished and the boy stood up, he looked deep into her eyes. "Why do you have those things, Grandma?" he asked without questioning her previous behavior. She had just chained him without saying anything, but from the way he returned from that place, it was clear something unbelievable had happened to him. Smiling at him with a knowing smile, she answered, "Because I'm old?" He was calm now, on the outside only, though. His heart was now beating even more wildly than before, but his mind was now clear. Looking straight into her pure blue eyes, He asked, How many? His voice was filled with hesitation, and he did not want to confirm the known. 48. Some being moments long while the later ones lasting 3 millennia, she answered, understanding her grandchild had already known what she was. And her words, those expected words, broke him. How? As if a dam had broken inside him, a strong dam that kept his important emotions safe. Tears flowed out of his eyes. Tears as clear as precious gold, reflecting the light of the setting sun. She hugged him, and her warm embrace, as always, calmed him quickly. Caressing his head with her gentle hands, she said, Ian, though we can't forget the past, dwelling on it is meaningless. I never wanted a long life where I see others die before me. I never wanted all the lives I lived with or without others. You knew for a long time, but you denied it, right? You wanted me to confirm it for you. All this time you just wanted to hear that from me, so I shall say it. Yes, my beloved grandson. I am a divine beast. More precisely, a phoenix. His eyes widened at those words even more, and for someone who has lived with this person finally knowing she actually was the creature, he thought being shocked would be a small word. She just said a divine beast. Creatures that stood at the apex of beings in this world, possessing not only unparalleled strength and wisdom but also special authority only they had in this nature. They considered just witnessing the phantom forms of these creatures a lifelong blessing, while the person he had stayed with, laughed with, and learned with all this time was one of those beings. Not the phantom, not a part, but the actual creature itself. And not only that, she was a phoenix, a creature of afterlife and rebirth, symbols of life and masters of truth, being that showed the souls the paths on the road to the afterlife, or so the book said. In this world, Phoenix was admired as greatly as dragons, maybe more in some cases. A creature that had the ability to cure any illness, injury, or abnormality with their flames. Creatures born directly from nature long ago that maintain their existence as the only beings that can born back from their ashes after their death. Or so was written in books. They believed these immortal birds to never die and live eternally as the same creature. Books had many debatable things about these creatures, but we actually knew nothing about them. All we knew was from the books, as no one had seen these creatures, and there was no way to just believe this lady just because she said it. But he believed her nonetheless. He believed her words because he had seen things that would be impossible to possess if you weren't at least something she claimed. And she was his grandma. There was nothing to hide now that things were going to end with the worst scenario he had thought. Won't you just come back even if you go? His voice was cracking, and he was still hugging her tightly, not letting her go. He had felt it many times, but tried to deny it. The desire to have something she deeply desired. She wanted something, and there was only one that could grant her that wish. He never understood what it meant to be her successor, but he knew she wanted him to fulfill that one wish. She had always said just how old she was or how long she had lived. The tower she created herself was already more than 1,000 years old. He just recently began to doubt things even more when he achieved his 3 eyes. His skill told him too much, and sometimes the age of random things was one of them. She was old, and there weren't many mortal creatures that could live in this place for that long of a time. And more than that, she lived here, in these vast grass fields and this magical tower all by herself. Being alone is a difficult thing for any race, and if it's this long, few creatures had the ability to endure this silent solitude. She had said she made this place to live for the rest of her life. But how long was this rest? Some years? Decades? Centuries? Can someone live alone in the same place for millennia? I don't think others could, but if we were talking about a creature that had lived long and many lives, then it could be possible. And what would a being that had lived for that long, had all the knowledge, wisdom, treasures, and power, and could live like anything it wanted for as long as it wanted, have as their last wish? Last wish. Last. Meaning something at the end. And that was the easiest question to answer, right? She held his face with her 2 hands and got close to it. Looking deep within those ruby-red eyes with her emotions, sorrow, and happiness filled clear blue eyes, she asked, Ian, Won't you grant my last wish? My last wish of a true death. No. I screamed and tightened my grip around her, not letting her go. I knew something was not right. I knew something was going to happen. My heart, that weird feeling, her weird behavior after coming here, her emotional eyes that hated herself for being selfish, everything was wrong. I once had a thought, then the scenarios in my mind shortened, and I searched all the information on the beings that I could in the library before just forgetting the thought. It was already an absurd thought in the first place. A phoenix? The same creatures that were thought to have the ability to bring back creatures to life with no condition. Creatures that guided the souls of the dead on the path of the afterlife. A bird of fire that burned so brightly it seemed like a sun? A bird that actually was born from the sun? But now, everything made sense, and there was no need for me to not believe this grandma I had spent the last 3 years with. She could be a god for all I cared. But death? If she was selfish, I was selfish too. I didn't want her to go. I won't let her go, even if she can die. She was my master. I had countless things to learn from her. She was a grandma I wanted to be spoiled by. She was a mentor I wanted to talk with for as much as I wanted. She had to be with me. I can't even go home without her, right? She has to be with me. Ian. I'm a true divine beast born from Mother Nature herself. I'm not human, and still, I am your grandma. Though it was just selfish of me to make you my successor at that time, as we lived, practiced, and studied together, you became an important part of me. But you already have taken the oath of origin, and there won't be any good time than now for us to part ways. She stopped for a moment, and a silver light surrounded me while I was still hugging her. I felt like I was frozen on the spot at that moment, remembering the oath I took to fulfill her last wish by those pure white flames. A phoenix in this world is different from the creatures of the books and stories that people know. We do born from nature, but at that time, whatever form we first take differs from the magnificent picture everyone knows. Maybe we are a small creature like a human child, a gigantic creature like that boar from before, or anything like that. We do not have any powers other than the knowledge we possess about this world and ourselves. Until the first awakening, we are nothing but a stronger version of those creatures. And before the second awakening, we cannot transform into our true form. Having known about yourself and the powers you will soon possess, all that would last is survive until you reach that state. Gain strength by whatever means you can and just stay alive no matter what. You will never be able to die, even if you do die in that body anyway. But you will have to start again from the beginning. It's not a blessing, gift, or anything good, Ian. It's more of a curse than anything. And even after that, when you do pass the stage when you get to your true form, you can't truly die that simply. For the lucky ones, every time they die, they are reborn as a new being. A new phoenix with new memories and a new persona altogether. Those common bastards are the main creatures mortals know about. Then there are us, the special cases who are reborn as the same being, with the same memories with unique power. Trapped in an endless cycle of life and death where the only exit is giving birth to a new child that would start from zero as you had. A newborn will have to start powerless, alone in this vast world with the only knowledge that their mother birthed them and what they are. Though they will have the same mind and immense talent that could learn anything and will possess all the knowledge their mother had, they couldn't use anything. No power, no knowledge, no nothing. Aside from what their weak body allows, they couldn't use anything even while knowing everything. Restrictions of the world, as well as the truth that they already knew, couldn't be shared with anyone. In those circumstances, how can a mother leave their child to suffer the same fate they had for this long time? I have met a few of my kind in these 21,369 years of human life, Ian. Most were normal while some were like me. Some of them just prepared places like this for their children, which wasn't as effective. While some took inspiration from other divine beasts and chose special candidates that can be strong enough to protect their children. That was an excellent thing, and I didn't disagree with their decisions. But some didn't actually like this method either. Like me, every being had different thoughts in life, so the decisions would be different for every being. It's not time for you to know those bad things yet, Ian. She took a brief pause and sighed. I was still hugging her, Or at least that's what I wanted to believe, but her grip around me tightened, making my heart calm down completely. I understood her better from what she said, and her reasons were valid, too. But there was one thing mistaken about them. Though you did it with something selfish like this in mind, I know your emotions were true, Grandma. I know how you feel, but I'm selfish too. How can you just say you want to go and ask me to take care of your child? I want to say many things. Cry, scream, stop you will all my being. But this oath is absolute, isn't it? I asked while feeling nothing aside from my head. I knew this origin oath would make me finish the thing I agreed on, even if I wanted to or not. I had already been in the swamp, and there was no way I can do anything against this thing. Not when even I wanted her to have her long-wished salvation. But why? Ian, my pretty boy. I adore you like no other, and even I do not know the reason for that. You are special, like I have always said. I would have loved to be with you more, but I know this is the right time. I'm hoping you will take care of the one that will come after me as your little sister. Maybe she won't have a place like Anna in your heart, but make a special place that only belongs to her. My death will mean the me will no longer exist, but a part of my soul will be with you both. She will be my child, the same age as you, so she will know all about you, too. And for you, my beloved grandchild I love so dearly. She stopped and looked at me lovingly. Our faces were already too close, and she kissed me on the forehead. Don't worry, a part of me will always be with you as a part of yourself. So, it will also mean my daughter and you will be connected in a way. She smirked at me in this chaotic moment, and a colorful light appeared on my forehead, where she kissed me. I felt weird, and once again, I felt the same thing I felt when breaking through to intermediate mastery and stage 2 of my origin skill. And suddenly, many status windows with strange numbers, words, information in different languages, arrays, and things I couldn't even see passed on in them appeared before us. And with that, a strange voice that felt like the one she spoke before the blue chains appeared entered my mind, but I couldn't understand it either. Oh, you chose a special one such as yourself, little one. I approve of this one, so if fate allows it, let us have the chance to have a sweet talk, cutie. I didn't understand those words, but I felt them deep inside my soul. The owner of this female voice that seemed unknown by all other means was happy and excited, that looked forward to seeing things. I didn't understand this one, so I just stored it on a side of my mind and looked at all these countless colorful status windows that were different from other and looked as if processing some kind of data. My origin, which I can only feel when focusing deeply, was now clear, as if I was getting closer to something. And though this was being forced, it wasn't harming me in any way. I couldn't see it, but I could feel the heat of a bird-like mark being engraved on the place she kissed. This was a strange feeling, and I knew something unbelievable was happening to me. What was this part of her soul she talked about? I could only think of one answer to that question. But she was walking away from me right now as the windows started to slowly close down and my head started to hurt a little. Her eyes were locked on me, still warm and filled with sadness and love. So, Ian, ready to see my true form? I know you will like that one. It's colorful. Ah, I sealed seals in her mark. She should come out now. She smiled at me and seals flew out from her mark restlessly. Master? What just happened? How did I suddenly? She was shocked, and she didn't know what was happening. Looks like Grandma sealed her to protect from my integration with Rana. She sure was the one made for me, and I knew when I will be able to use it, Asta and she will like each other. Well, this dear butterfly of mine was quite scared by this one. Seals, don't worry. Let me show you what happened while you were gone, so don't be afraid and cool down. You might kill some weak ones with that kind of energy. I couldn't feel what energy she was talking about, but from the way she said it, it was definitely something special that I wasn't aware of. Master blinked with a purple glow in her eyes, and Seals calmed down within moments and started crying. No, how can you suddenly leave us like this? We haven't even played much. How could you? Seals, being Seals, started crying and flew to her. She knew this would also happen as soon as Seals was out, so she just sighed. Master comforted her and said something I can't hear. Maybe that was something important, but she managed to calm her down, and Seals returned after receiving a kiss from her. I will protect Master, don't worry. I'm strong now, and I will be stronger and protect Master so you can leave him to me. I will, definitely. I won't cry so. Don't worry about us. I didn't know what they talked, but this was just like Seals. I could feel her mixed emotions, and I knew she could feel mine, too. My tears had stopped, and I was now calm, but this was still too much to bear. I could never forget this twilight, this setting sun, that blue moon that was crying at this scenario, and the stars that shared the moon's feelings. I wanted to cry, break down in tears, and stop her from going far away, but I didn't at the same time. My contradicting emotions were fucked up, so thinking too deeply of this thing was, okay, you too. This might be a little bright, so be prepared. She shouted, and we prepared ourselves. My mom and dad had seen a unicorn in their old days, but it wasn't its true self. I know it's impossible for a mere mortal like me to even be near a true body of a divine being, and if she had lived for that long, it meant she could be older than some gods. She was definitely more than a god or a simple divine being, and I was sure she knew that too. So I wasn't worried about my safety at all. But seeing a godly being's true form, and one that is and will forever be my grandma, no less. This may be a plot hole or something like that, but if I was some actual main character, I would know this definitely was one. This day, I didn't want it. I did not want to part ways with the person that took care of a bad person like me. Even though I was an adult inside, I was still a child, a newborn, in front of someone like her. And even though I might meet different beings older than me but younger in human age, I knew I can be myself and act however I wanted with only her. I would never find anyone like her, and I won't need to. I could feel something new inside me, something warm and something that reminded me of her. My life was going to change from this moment, so I wanted to at least smile at this end and say my goodbyes and thanks for everything, every happiness, and every other thing she bestowed upon this grandson of hers. So I smiled and nodded at her, and she understood all this, and smiled in defeat. I could move my body now that I had accepted this fatal flow of fate. Her alluring body I have been admiring these past years disintegrated in her white flames, and these new flames flew up, shining like a sun in this perfect night sky. A sun was shining in the night sky of the endless grass plains. A sun bright enough to lighten the whole vast area, covering it in its yellow-orange sun-like light. But that weren't the only colors of this sun. This one had all the colors one could think of. Red, purple, green, white, yellow, pink, cyan, maroon, crimson, and anything one could imagine was burning on this sun, or sun-like bird. A bird that was big, so big this magnificent tower was a standing place for it. A bird, but a being that gave off the same presence as the midday sun. Though the flames on its feathers were different colors, the main white, orange, and golden flames that stood out among them were special in themselves. The bird had a look similar to a predator bird and a mix of a peacock and eagle. Her wingspan was wide like a bird that flew higher than clouds. The neck was long, but the head was more like a bird that would hunt, perfectly aerodynamic. Her tail was special and the tail feathers resembled asta, or the other way around. Just like a peacock's feather, these tail feathers had different colors and a core center with different colored flames covering them. This whole body was ethereal, and I could feel there was no actual mass to this body. Those feathers were marvelous, something that could mesmerize anyone with just a look. Something I was shocked to see and something that I couldn't take my eyes away from, even with my strong mental fortitude. Her beak was sharp and the talons at the end that shined with white and were covered in blue flames were sharpest. I could feel the divinity from her true form, a true form of a divine being. A broken plot element and someone I cherished with all my being. This was fabulous, and I could see that this form perfectly matched the phoenix mark that she made on my forehead some moments ago. A real divine beast. Looking at the past years I spent with her, I was suddenly wondering how lucky I was to be part of this broken as hell plotline. I was accidentally dropped here when I met her. She cured me, became my grandma, and we lived happily for a long time. I have cherished every single moment I spend with her, and I wanted to be with her for a bit more. Let others from my family meet her. Take her to my home, my other home. This tower was my first home, the home that she allowed me to live in. I have cherished every moment of us dearly. But now, after today, I will have to cherish it even more. She won't be with me, and there would be a new person I will have to take care of. I would love that, but the fact that she won't be with me like this won't leave me ever. And she knew it too. Her eyes, her true eyes, the eyes of a divine being were the same as her human form, but different at the same time. Those eyes with the same blue color and burning fire in them were as clear as the sky, as deep as oceans, while as bright as the sun itself. The light from her, the insurmountable power that her true form possessed, was so powerful as any other being, be it a strong, purple, ranked creature or any person considered as strongest, couldn't even stand up against. Unless you are a god or a being that came close to a god, you were nothing but dust in front of this being. And she was my teacher. Was there more to the things she had taught me than I thought? There have to be many things hidden in the things she had taught me at that unthinkable speed and things that I had yet to go through. Maybe I can learn many things just by having her words revised. But if things just go the way they were now, I was sure I would get strong in no time at all. Well, those things aside, she was going to leave now. Leave, go away, and become one with nature. As she said, the divine beast's phoenix was different from most other beasts. And just from the fact that I was alive while standing before the sun, I knew I can't even begin to fathom her powers. What else can I think aside from some nonsense at this glorious yet
Grave moment?
Ian, this is how a phoenix actually looks. I look fabulous, right? You have fallen for this form at last, right, Ian? She was joking at this moment too, but this time, I understood what she said in those weird voices and smiled. I wished to know what this strange kind of voice was, but her true voice. I suddenly heard a shaking, blurry voice in my mind. HM? Did you say something, Seals? I asked before answering her, and this sudden action made her chuckle even more. I can divert my attention in the presence of a divine beast such as her and be this comfortable. Even Mother Nature would laugh at this. Looks like she will wake up soon. Yes, this is called true voice, Ian. The true voice of those that have ascended the realm of mortals. I am someone who has broken through the bonds of the world a time long ago. But then there was nothing for me to do. You will come to know about things you could have never imagined. Ian, I know you will be fine, and hearing a true voice for long, even with the protection I'm giving, is harmful to current you. I have already given you everything I could as your grandma and everything in this place. This tower, this grass, this land. Everything is now yours and yours alone. You can do anything you want with it, but I know you won't be coming back anytime soon. She will know how to use everything here, so you won't have to worry about the gate. So, as your grandma, I shall wish you my last goodbye. Thank you for being such a wonderful child to a terrible grandma like me. Her voice was filled with emotions, and I knew even in her true form as a divine creature, she was emotional. A divine beast being emotional in front of me? That was something I could have never ever dreamed of witnessing. But I wasn't any good at this moment either.
No, grandma.
You were the best. A terrible person like me couldn't even hope to have someone like you. Thanks for saving me, taking care of me, and having me. She said everything here was now mine. But what would all these matters when I didn't even have the most important thing that made this magical place home? She won't be here now, and there won't be anything for me to do here. If she was gone, would her daughter and wait? Her daughter? So what would she be to me? Mother? Auntie? Sister? I was genuinely confused that I forgot to even think about the words she had said just now that emphasized the word, as my grandma. She had said her goodbye as grandma. So, was there something left from her as my teacher? The tears in my eyes stopped at the new train of these questions, and she looked at me with her world-seeing eyes and smiled a beaky smile. Yes, dummy. There is still one last thing I should give you as the one I trust more than anything in this nature. And remember that she will be your little sister. No mother, no auntie, or something weird. So, as the one who inherited all my knowledge, I shall bestow you with the stigma I possess. My Ahai Phoenix's sigma. You will know its use when the time comes, and you know what receiving a stigma would mean, right? The stigma? I wanted to shout what nonsense she was talking about, but then I remembered she was a divine beast. I was before a true form of a divine beast, and I was talking to her like she was still my grandma, and I can't help that one. She was my grandma, but stigma. Something that prominent figures that receive the high blessing of a god or someone of equal strength earned from them after countless struggles. Or if you catch their eyes and they fall for you. Stigma was more precious than a blessing as, in most cases, a stigma would bind the receiver with the gods they worshipped, and in temples, a pope or saintess would be the best example of them. But there were only a handful of stigma bearers in this world, and from all the knowledge I possessed, there wasn't a single being that had the stigma of a phoenix. Stigma granted the receiver some of the core authorities of this world that can perform miracles. And the gods who would fear the misuse of their power would never choose someone who hasn't proved themselves through harsh trials. And she just said she would give me that very thing. I would never deny such a wonderful gift, but it will also mean she was done here as my teacher and would go away too. I wanted to stop her, or maybe just deny the stigma if I can, but this damn oath. I could still feel the restraint deep within me. She was a divine being, and getting this stigma with unknown powers would be sweet, right? Well, I will become stronger and will be able to protect my family better with it. And if I had to worship someone, it would be her and her alone, the one who saved me and took care of me this well. Those gods in the heavens can go screw themselves. I looked at her and nodded hesitantly as tears started flowing again. Oh boy, will you say your goodbyes with a cry like this, Ian? I will be sad too if you do this. She knew what to say or threaten me to calm down. Who's crying? Asils, it's okay. You are strong. I know you will protect me. Wiping my tears and caressing her tiny self, who was actually crying for some time now, I looked back at her. I am glad it was you, Grandma. Thank you for everything, Master. Bowing down to my master, Grandma, and the one that saved me from sure death, I heard her last laugh inside my head. Ooh, I am also glad it is you, Ian. I know you will be happy. This grandma is happy to have a grandchild like you. And this teacher is overjoyed her teachings will live on with you. I love you, Ian, so make sure to live happily. I will be with you in every step of your life, so do not worry about anything. Oh, can you please give her a name and tell her I'm sorry to not be with her? I think she will most likely know about the things like what happened to me, who I was, and such. But please just tell her it will be okay. I believe she will be a smart one and understand, but if she is a little crybaby, please be a nice big brother to her. Okay? Okay then. Thank you, Ian. With that last goodbye, her body shined like the bright sun of midday, and a feather fell down from the sky. This was her head feather that slowly landed on my left hand that I didn't know how suddenly straightened up before me. This peculiar feather, the same as her other feathers, burned in countless different colors. The feather was exactly my arm's length after slowly shrinking with the time it fall from the sky. After falling on my arm, it just vanished after appearing as a mark, like a feather it was. Maybe this was the stigma, but it didn't stand true to the name of such a magnificent and powerful thing. Well, it could be something overpowered, so there was no point in trying to figure it out. She said I will know, so I just put these whole last few words to a side and saw the death of a divine being who had a thankful smile. This scene before my eyes and this grandma of mine. Yes, I love that form. And you too, Grandma. I just thought, and I knew she would know, so she smiled, and the golden red light covered the entire surrounding. I have read about supernovas, death of a star and the great explosion it causes, the large explosions that shake space-time and create waves. Will the same happen if the sun in this world or any star in this magical world dies? A star, part of the great nature, is an entity made from different unique energies and not the same hydrogen-helium transformation and atomic fusion. If the sun, the great entity of nature, even differs from what it has been, will things change even a little bit? I could not explain this world of magic and fantasy with the limited knowledge humans of my past world had. This place was not the world I used to know, and even if some basic principles were also applied here, the concept was the same, and even though the outcome was expected by those things, there were still differences. I was reborn in this world after getting hit by a normal supersonic truck from my past world. Maybe the driver died and the AI couldn't understand the instructions, so I also died there. It was unfortunate, but that life was already meaningless. Who liked seeing blood every day? I certainly didn't. But the job was the job, and I was already deep into that swamp. I liked the fact that I died there, and even more that I was reincarnated in a world where I had a family. A big one at that. Unlike last time, when everyone left me at a very young age, this time was different. Nothing should have happened to them when we were going back to our house in the capital, but a big-shot demon decided to raid the entire country and play some games with his new minions. I didn't know what that was, but I at least had killed the one that tried to harm my dear family. If I meet a weak bastard like that now, just Asta would deal with it alone. But the one behind them was a different deal altogether. If I can compare the demon slime with a demon baron in their prime, the one behind the multiple attacks in the notation was nothing less than a count. Demons in this world were strong, very strong, that I couldn't believe it even after gaining such knowledge about them. But even more unreal powerful demons' natural enemies were divine beasts, having unimaginable powers that even high demons would tremble in the mere presence of them. And one such being was my savior, grandma, and teacher. The same being that could kill those demons with a flick of her finger had taught me the basics of weapon, magic, as well as energy. She had taught me cooking, gardening, reading, and writing too. And it was easy to learn all those unreal runes with her teachings. She was the best I could ever wish for, and now, after being with me and teaching me everything I might need according to her, she wanted me to grant her long-cherished wish. She was a phoenix, and she had lived for a very long time. I knew she would have met people of other races, lived with them and other stuff, but I was still precious to her. I knew just like I found her at that time, she also found me. Maybe, when she first saw me, there was only the idea of fulfilling her wish of death after teaching me some stuff, but many things changed with the time we spent together. She knew if someone can handle the one after her, it would be someone compatible to have the knowledge that she had. Well, all things considered, she was leaving. A divine beast's death, and even in that, someone like her who has lived far longer than others and surpassed even the gods. How would it look like? Yes, I was angry, sad, and broken on the inside, but this soft, gentle, and warm light that covered my body wasn't letting those emotions get ahead of the pure bliss of this moment. Tears sure were flowing out of my eyes, but these were tears of joy, for some strange reason. I was happy to witness this spectacle, and my heart was beating calmly even when her soul was disintegrating in nature. They say we are born from earth and will one day return to this very earth without anything in our hands. I knew, and now that I was seeing this, I was even more confident. Something like true immortality doesn't exist in this world, and that living that long life would be a curse. Yes, there were beings who were called immortal, skills that had immorality in their name and beings that lived for a long time. But even gods can die if the scenario is right. I knew she would leave me someday, but not today in the name of testing me and making me kill a dumb pig. She just wanted to get me over that nightmare-like night I had spent on the first day by this, and even after understanding that, I could never forgive her for leaving me like this. I could not accept that, but she also knew that. And that selfish grandma of mine accepted it as her punishment. She had smiled at me warmly in her last moments, and that smile was enough to melt me. Well, with a broken heart bathing in the warmth of her death, tears that carried joy, an unwanted smile of acceptance, and this helpless feeling of happiness. Was I the weird one, or this scene before my eyes were so magnificent that even nature would sing the hymns of harmony? Well, I wanted to hate myself for enjoying this, but I couldn't even do that. This was more than that divine skill Mom and Dad had seen. Master's divine skill was her pure white flames, and I would never forget them. A long time had passed and my eyes had never wavered from the sky that was supposed to be a night sky. Her ethereal true body had become an actual sun that spread warmth and joy and healed the soul. The countless colors were turning into pure white, and the life in this closed place was increasing as time passed. New flowers were growing, the grass was getting gentler, and the outside of the tower, where countless, most advanced runes were engraved deep inside them, started surfacing. The top of this tower, a place Seals said had the best view of the sky, was glowing more than the entire tower. My eyes were starting to hurt from this increasing white light, but not that much. Even so, eyes still glued on the spectacle, I took out a sunglass artifact from my white storage crack and wore it blankly. Seals was doing fine, as she can use the shared scenes we had and protect herself. This was somewhat like the northern lights, but more colorful than them. And bright. And these disappearing colors were signs that her soul was becoming one with her origin, nature. Now, most part of this soul will be gone that contained her and someone new. Someone who just had the knowledge of her, and not the memories will come to life from the ashes that fell from the sky after this pure white brightness. I wanted to cry at this moment, not like this happy crying, the one of abrupt bad end and sadness. But damn, even after her death, she was stopping me from crying. Damn this inexperienced, bad author. If I meet him, he will have a punch before the talk. Even my mouth was closed shut in the awe of this marvelous scenery. I lacked the words to describe it, but if one can see heaven after death, this was it. This was the end of an old one, and as if the heavens were crying the tears of ash, a show like ash was falling all over vast grass fields. This was my first time seeing the weather differently from clear, sunny days in this place. The great forest had 2 seasons, warm spring or heavy rains. The dark forest had 2 seasons, cold, eternal night and autumn. I had never seen snow in this world before, not even when I lived with my parents in that place. It was also more like here, almost always clear weather. And now I was seeing a slow snowfall for the first time, a snowfall of ashes, the remains of my grandma and the ashes of a phoenix. A phoenix lives a long life and dies while burning itself. Then, they are reborn from those ashes and grow to be new birds of the afterlife and rebirth. Would we call this a cliché? A reincarnation, a good family, a cute little sister, a tragedy, a forest, life-death situations, a strong and unbeatable enemy, a master, a new life, and then, her death. Sounds pretty cliché, but I don't think others choked on a coffee when their master sneaked in on them. I don't think any master would teach cooking, gardening, handling chemicals, even reading and writing, and teach everything like teaching a baby. Though there would be many characters as strong or even absurdly strong as her, would they show the true loving smile as her? Would they tease the one they call a child for their fit body? Would they look even close to how she did? I don't know if there are other books like My Own Dear Life, but there sure is no way they are the same as this one. A cliché is an overly used plot of a story like Some Good Evil Shit, A Rebirth and Truck, A Master in Training, and such. I know these are coincidences in a true way, but my life had been more than just some cliché. I had lived, survived, and now I was seeing the death of someone dear to me for the first time. I didn't want this, but I didn't regret this one. She had no regrets when she made that decision. She was happy, smiling warmly at me in her last moments. And I will have a responsibility to take care of the one after her. Du, noche, vohi. Again, this voice sounded like my grandma, but static like some AI's initiation. I just ignored it completely, not that I could think about it or anything. My mind was blank, and I was thinking with my subconscious mind, something that should have been impossible. But right now, everything happening couldn't be explained with any kind of logic or anything like that. Right now, at this moment, this space, anything one could do was feel this unearthly blissful warmth, this magical ash that fell like snow and vanished when touching the soil. It covered the vast area of this closed, magical place and just continued like that until the first rays of the true sun shined on the horizon. That was the end of this spectacle, and the flames that had burned in a distinct pattern all this time shook like saying their last goodbyes and intensified severely. A tear, different from those joyous ones from before, filled with sorrow and sadness, finally slid down my warm cheeks, cooling them with the coldness of suffering. The light that was wide and covered the entire sky condensed, became smaller and started taking a humanoid shape. This suddenly became an even more spectacular scene that I didn't expect would happen. And I never thought I could witness what was happening right before my eyes. Birth of a divine beast. The sky that had been painted in countless colors, then pure white, was now back to those countless colors. New flames, different from those old and marvelous ones, burned from the white ash-like humanoid figure that exuded a blinding light. The new flames that burned were young, weak, and, most importantly, these flames had no experience of their own. They were just sparks in comparison to the ones she had, but still, these new flames were gorgeous in their own way. The new being that had taken a human-like form, this new girl with a still pure white energy body that was shorter than me, was finishing the body creation like she already knew what she was doing. The energy body became physical, and naturally, she wasn't wearing anything at this moment. Her face resembled Grandma, and she also had hair and eyes like a grandma, but this one lacked the fire she had in them. She looked normal compared to her, but this normal was also as beautiful as me, or maybe even more. Her face was smaller, and her body was perfect for someone my age. She was a young girl, and from what I knew and liked those so she was my little sister. Well, she wasn't like Anna. No one could be like her. But this one was special. She was a child who knew what she was and everything in this world, but she had no experience. She was a newborn on the inside, and I will have to take care of this little one. And now that master was gone, it was time for me to go, too. Her body was slowly falling to the sky, and she was looking around in fear, her eyes in search of someone. And when our eyes met, an innocent smile appeared on her face. Goo. I smiled at her, and she increased her speed and flew towards me in excitement. Okay. Slow down. I didn't see this one coming, and she just collided with me at high speed. She hugged me tightly in happiness and fear, her strength being no joke. She was already as strong as a rank 2 knight, but fortunately, I could handle it. She just buried her face in my shoulder and stayed like that. I could understand her emotions, like something connected me to her like Seals. And Seals was hugging my face with a sad expression. Now I had 2 little ones to take care of, and there were going to be more when I get back there. For the first time in this life, I had lost someone irreplaceable. I don't think I will meet someone like her, and no one will have a place in my being like her. A one-of-a-kind has now become one with nature, and something had now ended in the true meaning. An end. My first end. But this was not the end of my journey. I hugged her back, and we stayed like that as the new morning sun graced us with its first rays of light. This was a new morning. A new start and a new end will be waiting for me at the end of this path. But I didn't worry at all. I had them on my side now. And as she said before going, she will always be with me. Yes, I will always be with you. Surprised. I looked around at the sound of the exact same voice as Grandma in my head. What was that just now? Was she? No. I know she was gone. Then, I didn't know why I was doing this even before calming her down. But there was something different about me, too. I could feel that both of them were confused right now, but I couldn't help this feeling. Even my tears had stopped at the end of my eyes. An end not only brought a new character into my life, but I was now different from just some moments ago. I was now status window. Name, Axion Cromit. Age 11. Strength, 120. Dexterity, 118. Stamina, 122. Magic power, 159. Intelligence, 145. Luck, 81. Charm, 80. Skill, energy circulation, quickstep, appraisal, shadow dive, mana vision, shadow curtain, energy burst, stark triangle, mana shield. Origin skill, sun's blessing, upper intermediate mastery. 3 eyes, stage 2. Dynamic heart, stage 1. White crack, stage 1. Lucy, stage 0. What? I shouted, and the sudden shout surprised both of the crying babies. It surprised her more than Seals and tightened her grip around me, almost choking me to death. Calm. Calm. Oh, sorry there. Did I surprise you? I asked while patting her small orange head. She answered in a timid voice, not letting me go. This little one was more important than the sudden rank increase and new skill with an unknown rank. Looking at her and feeling Seals understood me, I took out some spare clothes and covered her first. How about we go in? For now, little sister. Oh, I should give you a name, as Grandma asked first. Wear this first. I nodded and helped her dress up. Though she was warm, her being with clothes was more appropriate on this cool morning. Not that I cared. Just like Grandma, I wasn't attracted to this little one. Her height was the same as Alf's, so I can't call her short. In fact, she was perfect. Carla was the unique one, being as tall as me. She was my little sister from now, and I will have to take care of her as best as I can. Well, she was already a smart one, so I knew it will be okay. I had some special artifact clothing that can change their form according to the one who wore it, so it was easy for her to finish it on her own. I could feel her just like Seals. Maybe this was what Grandma meant by being connected with a part of her soul. So, maybe this new skill was from that mark on my forehead. I didn't doubt someone like her, a high phoenix, can't increase my origin skill level and add some special skill in that place. If it was her, then it was definitely possible. Dressing up in a blue shirt and black combat pants, she sat down before me and looked at me. Big brother. She called me out for the first time in her cute voice, and I could feel she knew about me. She was just like her mother, but she was a different person that only knew me in this world. She was a phoenix, so I will have to give her a good name. And I was confident in my naming ability. As a phoenix, she was the symbol of life, the afterlife, and rebirth. A being so special, the whole nature would acknowledge her. A special existence, queen of all birds, master of flames, and most of all, a new life that I will have to protect with all my being. She is now part of my family and part of my life. So a name for such special existence. Zoe, how about it? I said and smiled at her, and her eyes widened in happiness as she nodded her head with joy. Yes, Zoe. I love this name. Big brother. Thank you, she shouted cheerfully, just like Seals, and Seals chuckled in my head. Sister Zoe. I love this name too. Hello, sister. My name is Seals. Let's play together in the future. Maybe because she was connected with me, Seals can communicate with her just like me, and all three of us can talk with her ability. This was convenient, if I have to say, just like her ability to clone herself. We haven't had many chances to use that ability, but it was best for information gathering and group activities. Hello, Seals. You are Big Brother's familiar, right? You're so awesome. Please take care of me. She smiled at her, and Seals danced in the air. Sister is awesome too. I will take care of you, so. Don't worry, Zoe. I smiled at these two childish ones, and then lest they both chat among them. Opening my status window again, I looked at this new skill that had the ability to talk. Lucy? It was a beautiful name, and as soon as I thought of it, a voice similar to my grandma echoed in my head again. Lucy. That is indeed my name, Master. I didn't know how, but this skill, the one that my grandma gave me, can talk to me like it was a real person. And that didn't surprise me at all. After seeing the death and birth of a divine beast some moments ago, I won't even be surprised in the presence of a god, so this was not shocking anymore. But this sure was surprising. A skill that can talk? And she even understood this situation and waited for her time. A smart skill, almost like an AI. So, was this a personal AI-like skill or something? And her voice was very similar to Grandma's. If she had similar warmth in this voice, it would be a perfect match. But, was that possible for an AI? What are you, Lucy? And, is there a reason Grandma gave you to me? What can you do besides talking to me? And, am I the only one who can hear you and not even Seals or Zoe? I asked many questions at once, but if this was something like an AI, then I believe it should be okay. And it was okay. My creator created me with part of her soul. So, my master sister is connected to you through me. I'm a self-aware origin skill and your skill, so only you can hear me. Creator made me so that I can be with you all the time, and in simpler terms, I am a skill with a will of my own. I contain all the knowledge my Creator bestowed on me, and many more. I am a special skill granted to you by special permission of Supreme Mother Nature, but I have many restrictions that can only be lifted when special, unknown conditions are met. At this moment, aside from talking like this, I can answer any one question you have per day. Though the daily count does not stack, you get one extra chance every week that can be stacked and used later. Though the question you can ask has a few limitations, if the question you have asked cannot be answered, your chance will be used, so choose your words carefully. I am an always active skill, so I can talk about things you already know freely. There are some instinctive responses too, but you do not have to worry about that. I belong to you, Master, so I am at your command for whatever I can help you with. That was quite detailed, and she was easy to understand, too. Aside from the absurd fact that she was a skill with a will of her own, something I can compare with that old magnificent willow tree, everything was acceptable. This questioning ability wasn't something all new, as I had read about this specific kind of high-level skill, unique skill, and origin skills. But I knew this skill was something unreal from the fact that Mother Nature herself, the entity that is above everything, permitted me. And I could never believe that one. That crazy fact was something I did not need to think too hard about, so I sighed at my new secret and probably the strongest weapon in my arsenal. Please take care of me, Master. You too, Lucy. Let's have fun in this weird life of mine. Of course, Master. My Creator made me help Master. I'm always happy to help however I can. Now, this was a different one. The last cheerful thanks she said were almost like Grandma. It was strange, but I also felt this skill, Lucy's emotions. Truly, my Master was a fascinating being to have created someone like her. Nodding, I looked back and walked toward Zoe and Seals, who were having a blast all by themselves. Hey, why is my little Zoe so happy? Enlighten this big brother too. I smiled and walked to them. We will have some breakfast and depart tomorrow after I finish everything here. I also had many things to talk about with her, but for now, seeing her smile like that was making my heart melt. She was a cute one, and anyone who sees that cute face would want to adore her, just like my angel Anna. The ashes had become one with earth. The special warmth she gave off had vanished. But the green grass was the same as ever, dancing with the cool breeze, cheerfully smiling at the world. This was going to be fun, and the sun was rising on the horizon as beautifully as it always does. In the kitchen of the tower, after finishing everything, I sat down with Zoe and Seals for dinner. Packing took a while, but I now had everything I needed or would need in the future. There were abundant resources in this endless tower, and even with the help of both of them, I could not even take 1% of that with me. But all the things I took with me would be more than enough to get by before I would have to come back here. Well, I will have to come back after 5 years for the training circle anyway, so I would be okay until then. After that, and talking with Lucy and Zoe, there was now nothing else to do. Sitting with them, I was eating some normal noodles with meatballs and deep-fried fish and chips. This was Zoe's first time eating something, and even though she can live without anything, I knew she was a foodie, just like my grandma. Though she had no experience of how to make things as delicious as her, so she can't cook just yet. But I knew she would be a far better cook that can at least make something edible, unlike a certain someone I loved dearly. Well, Zoe was going to eat for the first time, and seeing this was fun in itself. Staring at this round thing with a weird but anticipation-filled expression, she took her first bite. She was cute, and that small face of hers eating those meatballs with that fork was just adorable. Her small mouth and cherry lips were painted red by the sauce as her eyes widened in surprise at the amazing taste. "Biv butter. This is mashing," she shouted with her mouth full of food, and I couldn't help but smile at this. She was enjoying her dinner while Seals was eating her favorite purple flowers light. I had taken many flowers and seeds with me, so I knew she will be okay there as well. Lucy was amazing, and the ability of the question she had was more amazing than I had thought. I asked for how to use the gate on the first floor for today, and now I had detailed knowledge about that one. I did ask Zoe first, but she didn't have much knowledge of things in this tower. She knew what each floor was, the hidden things I never knew about, and all the knowledge of the Divine Library, but she didn't know how to use most of the things properly. In the case of this gate, she knew how much energy, input, and resources we would need, but She did not know how to actually channel all that energy through those complicated runes and use it. It was understandable, as operating a machine properly required experience for perfect results, and she was just a newborn in this world. How could someone who was overjoyed for their first meal operate a machine needing 1,000 units of energy just for one exit? Thankfully, Lucy gave me all the knowledge I would need to operate, and the more amazing thing was the fact that I could come here anytime I wanted with the ring Grandma gave me. And more than that, I found many of these rings just lying around in the artifact room. I didn't know why she left them for me, but I knew she knew that I would find them like this. So now we were ready to go back tomorrow morning. I decided to go to the main city first and gather some information about the unknown capital. I also needed some money to use the things there, and going directly to the capital would be no fun, too. We should see this new world for the first time, so those things were decided already. I will contact Mom from there, so that would be after we reach there, but I was hoping things go out properly this time. There was nothing to worry about, anyway. I was almost grown up, and I was strong, so nothing like in novels should happen to us. "What's wrong, big brother?" she asked with a worried expression, and I came back from my train of thoughts. "Oh, I'm just thinking about tomorrow. Don't worry, I'm okay." I could feel her worried emotions, and she could also feel that I was fine. Smiling at her big blue eyes, I patted her head. She was a different person, but she would have similar powers Grandma had. Even though there were restrictions, she can tell me about herself as I was her guardian, so I knew everything she can tell me. And she was relieved to have someone who knew all about her. I could feel how she felt, and that was a special thing between us. She smiled, and that made me smile too. And as always, Seals was laughing at us while eating her flower light. This sure was a quiet, warm, and lovely atmosphere. Grandma and I used to eat just like this, but now her place was mine while mine was Zoe's. They were two different people, and I knew that, but still, looking at Zoe, I can't help but remember my marvelous grandma. Zoe knew it too, but she did not mind it at all. She understood the emotions as best as Grandma, so she just smiled at me every time that happened. Just like right now. I have never met my mother, big brother. But I know, she was definitely someone you loved dearly. I know nothing could take her place, and I can't help it either. You are the only one I know in this world, and Seals, and that's also thanks to my mother. I don't know if I will be someone you like, but I promise I will stay with you forever. You are my beloved big brother, and even if we go out into a world I have never seen, I will follow you with all my heart. So don't worry. I know Mom would like it too. She smiled warmly and grabbed my free hand. Smiling at her, I also grabbed her hand back. "Finish eating, you cute little birdie." I stroked her cheeks with a smile and resumed eating. She was a good girl, and she knew how to comfort others, or at least me. I had to put this little girl to her first sleep too, so there was no time to think about that useless stuff. Grandma was gone now, and thinking too much about that would not be good for me either. I had to accept that truth and move on with our memories. She would like that too. "How about some ice cream, Zoe?" I asked with a fresh expression, and she smiled joyously. "Yes, I would love to have that sweet, cool thing." That answer was quite unique, but, thankfully, I understood her deep urge to eat the thing her mom and I loved endlessly. Grandma's favorite flavor was chocolate mint. I wonder what flavor she will like. We already have a great appetite. Let's make all the flavors we don't have in the cooling room. I thought and smiled at that thought. The first time I made ice cream here, Grandma was so happy with just the normal one that she made me make every flavor I can. We loved ice cream, and we would try making our special original flavors here. And so, she ended up with the chocolate mint, which was a special one in itself. The ingredients in that one can't even be processed by me, so I had no way of making a new batch of that flavor for the time being. I knew the processes, thankfully, so I can make it after I become strong enough, but God, the flavors she made were incomparable to anything. And on happy nights like these, those delicacies were just the thing everyone would like. But this talk was pointless at this moment. This was our first dinner, and tomorrow morning would be the day we depart from here. It has been a long time since I had been in this place, and even longer that I have been away from them. Almost 6 years. How would they react when they actually see me? It would be fun. and I was really excited to finally meet everyone. I will have to tell them what happened first, and after that we can have some crying. I knew they all will like Zoe, and if I was the one to be her guardian, we definitely will live happily together. I will have many things there to do, and I knew things would be perfect if I were with them. And have the spars my dear cousins so much wanted. That would be a fun thing, and if I can actually fight grandfather, it would be even better. Patting her head out of the blue, I smiled. Tomorrow will be long you too. Let's finish up and have a good sleep. Yes. Yes. These two were quite cheerful at the thought of finally going to the human city for the first time. Not that I had been to any big city. I was even more excited than these two. Let's see what a main city and capital are like. I smiled excitedly and ate another one of these special meatballs. Quite tasty if I praise myself. Okay. So let's start. I shouted in excitement, and she chuckled like a little girl. It will be okay, big brother. So let's start. Zoe cheerfully answered. We were on the first floor, and it was a really magical place. Many things were hidden here, but I can see most of the things with my blue eyes. It was a spectacular view, so it was even more fun than I thought. Magic arrays covering the whole floor, the colorful magic circles, those awesome rune spells that were impossible to engrave there by any normal means, and the most amazing structure in this place. The enormous gate. Covered with the runes of ancient times that even I had never learned, we stood before it and I placed the 4 energy cores I had on the altar. The process was somewhat easy, according to Lucy. After placing the required energy crystals, cores, or anything with the required amount of energy, we have to select the location and set coordinates on the other side of this place. Then come back and confirm the coordinates written with precise mana engravement. The processes of these things were hard, and even with both of us working together, it took almost what we had to pull this one on our first try. There were some 50 processes with significant details to finish in a short time of 5 minutes. But we achieved the goal. Thankfully, Zoe was good to follow instructions, so we were able to finish the thing pretty quickly. That was hard, big brother, she said, passing out on the ground while panting. I was in the same position because this thing was actually tiring without a nigh-perfect control and knowledge about these things. She was at her weakest, but she can still control some environmental fire element mana like a Tier 3 mage. Her soul nova was restricted until her first awakening, so that was it, but unlike me, she will have the 3rd blockage cleared when she awakens. That was a pretty absurd power-up because she will be only relying on her high physical strength and some small mana she could control directly from nature. Well, it will be okay as she can grow at a speed that would be comparable to those 2 geniuses at home, so it was okay. Good work, Zoe. You did well, too, Seals. I thanked both of them, and though Seals's main body was with me, her cloned bodies were flying around the room, pushing the buttons that appeared after we did our part. Despite her looks, Seals was a crystal butterfly, and she was damn strong. So strong that if she wanted, she can create many clones of her and lift a giant boulder. Well, that would be too hard for her right now, but even now, she was as strong as a normal human. I nodded at them and stood up from the ground. The preparations were complete, and the only thing left for me to do here was to press this button. It will throw us inside the gate that will open just for a split second. It was going to be dangerous now, so I wanted to prepare myself and them, so we stood up before the gate with hands joined. Looking at her, I nodded with a smile, and she nodded back with an even happier one. She was going to be outside for the first time, and it would be her first experience of this world. Well, it was going to be fun for both of us. Taking a deep breath and confirming all of Seals's clones were back in the mark, I pressed the button. Here goes nothing. Boom! With a quiet explosion that happened for just a split second, both of them were thrown inside the gate after it glowed in pure white, and a spatial tunnel took its place inside it. Everything on it, all the syllabus, arrays of magic formulas, and countless magic circles drowned around it glowed, and a special magic circle had also appeared before them that protected them. This was the end of their lives in this place, and now, this tower, I will be alone for a long time. In a dense forest, many large noises were ringing with fiery sparks and clanks of metal clashing. Though there were clear, natural roads, this fight was happening in the clear area just across the road. It was a tough fight, and, from the looks of things, it was a close one. The opponent was a green, Ranked creature heavy armor bear. A 6-meter-tall silver bear whose body was as if covered by thick armor. Its claws were like sword blades, while the red eyes that saw nothing but its opponent were the sign that this creature had gone berserk. Even after having a giant body, this silver creature reflecting the light of the sun was as swift as an actual sword. It was fast, but its opponent wasn't anything to look down upon. A figure wearing a dark gray hood and holding a special-looking scythe stood against him. This weapon looked fantastic. A full metallic pink and black body, and the special enchantments glowing on its body looked precious. A gray hood covered this figure, but it was easy to figure out she was a female from the outline of the body. Her head was covered in her clothes too, but the eyes that looked at everything from under the hood glowed in bright pink. They were glowing, looking at the creature before her with a pleased smile. The creature had just gone berserk, meaning this was a natural berserk state that few powerful creatures could enter and maintain. From those crescent eyes that would send chills down one's spine, we could tell this person was confident in winning this fight even while the opponent was far stronger than any normal being. Holding the scythe that had devastated the surrounding area and most definitely had unthinkable weight with just one hand, she created a water element arrow in her other hand. Though this was just a water arrow, this water was nothing normal if looked closely. Shooting the arrow without hesitation, she vanished from his view. This confused the bear with the thick metallic body that water could not affect in any way. It just ignored it and looked around with angry eyes for the one that just did this unnecessary thing. Foolish Teddy, a female voice said from the shadows behind the bear, and at the same time, the arrow of water collided with its red eyes. Those in that voice were mature as well as alluring. But the thing that happened with the bear was more surprising than it could have ever expected. The silver bear screamed as its left eye that the arrow collided with burned every tissue inside of it. It almost pierced a hole in the place of its eye while she came out of the shadows with an unsatisfied expression. "It's amazing you actually felt it, Teddy. Well, you aren't an area ruler for nothing," she said in that same alluring voice that though mature was still young. "Well, just wait for a minute, Teddy. I have to talk to this new guest spectators," she said and looked at the butterfly sitting on a distant tree with a crow. The butterfly had crystal wings that looked normal but still precious. The crow beside the butterfly was pure black, as if the night itself with the eyes same as hers, shining in perfect pink. "Chains of the fallen night," she said in an audible voice, and some chains as dark as the night came out of the ground and wrapped around this berserk, green, ranked creature. "Hey, little butterfly. I can see all the corpses around me, so it's meaningless to hide. Come out. Let me see the great person who saved me from these 12 yellow, ranked creatures I would have been annoyed to handle." She was surprisingly happy, and the dark chains that restricted even the slight movement of this powerful creature were unmoving. The crow in the distance was smiling, and it looked like the butterfly was happy from the way she said it. The butterfly flew towards her and set on her head. "Oh?" The female in the hood smiled at this cheerful butterfly, and a voice entered her mind. "You must be someone special, my lady. I apologize, but it will take a bit to reach there. I used too much energy in those baby bears. We can do the introductions later, but from the looks of it, you were far stronger than I thought. I apologize for disturbing your fun." She smiled at this respectful act and replied with the same smile she had. "You are amazing yourself, sir. I don't think I know about an archer with that lever of archery in this part of the empire. I'm quite shocked right now, you see. Hurry up. I'm only interested in a face-to-face talk. In the meantime, I should wait." She took out her white glove and tapped on a blue ring in her hand. A small complex magic circle appeared in the air upon the ring, and she put the scythe in the dark place that appeared in the magic circle. The voice, on the other hand, was silently waiting for her reply with a strange silence that seemed surprised by something. Putting on the glove, she asked in a cheerful tone, "So, sir, it would be rude, but can I know your luck stat? Some time ago, with a colossal explosion, we fall to the hard ground surrounded by dense trees, and the fall was great. Master? Are you okay?" Seals asked, and I happily stood up with the blood flowing out of my knees. "You okay, Zoe?" I asked as I stood up and took a low-grade potion to clean up this wound. Thankfully, she was okay from this sudden fall, but we were thankfully out of that hellish forest. I was out of that great forest like hell, one that I spent my almost 6 years. A place I survived and came out alive, and with 2 members of my family I will have to protect. I was free now, outside of that ferocious place, and the place we were right now was a comparatively easy forest. Well, I knew we would just fall like this or something, and the place we were standing at this moment was a mess already. There was a giant crater almost some meter deep, and we were just standing inside it. Well, I was out of that hell, and I knew no forest could be as dangerous as that one. I knew no place would have an as horrible night as that place, and I knew there would be nothing I could do in a place that was actually like that one. Well, I was ultimately out. Looking at Zoe with a smile, I called out to Seals and said, "Let's go back." In a warm voice, she cheerfully nodded, and Seals flew into the sky with the same happiness. "Go scout the area, Seals. See if you find the road to the outside of this place and see if there are any dangerous beasts. We should kill some and take them with us to sell. We will need money, and the boar we have is too much. Oh, I also have many other bodies I killed. No, those things have higher mana, so selling them for cheap would be meaningless. I will give them to Mom, and we will auction them at our auction house." "Okay, go and be safe." She cheerfully smiled, giggled, and flew in the air, with a bright, white light covering her. Many butterflies just like her came out of her glowing body and floated away. "I can just send them and be with you, Master. I am strong now." Yes, that was a good option, too. Thankfully, she was smarter than me to remember that in this situation. "Okay, you little gorgeous. Come here. Let's get out of this place first." I smiled at both of them and walked out of the giant creature. Leaving something like this in a hunting ground was too much, so I used earth magic and returned the devastated land to normal. Looking around after things were good enough, we started walking on the path that looked the most used. This jungle was a place many beasts lived after making territories, and from what I knew, there would be a boss monster in each area, just like in games. Well, this was almost the same as the Great Forest, so it did not surprise me. Seals's clones were flaying in different places, and I can see everything. Each one of them was seeing one at a time, and Seals was seeing everything at the same time, so she reported every time she saw something different. Looking at the straight road with the footsteps of many beasts passing through it, I knew we were now entering some beasts' territory. "Master, this area is clear, and there are signs that someone has already cleared this whole place," Seals said with a certain voice, and my eyes widened in surprise. "What?" I couldn't believe what she was saying, so I looked through every butterfly in this area, and she was actually right. There were clear signs of someone eradicating everything in their path and even killing the ruler of the beast of this particular area. And was this possible? Was there someone, a single person in this part of the great empire, that would just kill everything in the area? Like, it was actually foolish in the long run. A new group of beasts would fill their place, and a new king would be born every time one was killed. And this transition would be fatal for those who used this hunting ground frequently. Well, whoever killed them was definitely desperate for something. Most probably a beast core? And I would do the same if I wanted something urgently, without hesitation. Hunting grounds were natural places, and if you think they will always stay the same, you are kidding yourself. Only an adventurer can enter this place, and being an adventurer would naturally mean you were on your own. Whatever happens in this place would be your responsibility. Well, whatever. Whoever this person was that killed countless red, orange, and even the ruler of the place that would be at the very least green, ranked was a strong one. And that person didn't find anything from the looks of it, and they didn't even leave the dead body of the beast. Well, let's first see who this person is. Seals, go check the tracks of that person. I can sense water and darkness attributes, so check carefully. Darkness is a rare one, and if someone can kill these many beasts in a short time, then they would definitely be strong. Looking at Zoe, I nodded in a serious tone, and she understood me as always and got behind me as we started walking. All I can understand from these marks was the enemy was overwhelmingly strong. Maybe tier 5 or more mage and a rank 4 knight. And that was just speculation on my part. It was clear that only one person made those deep-cut marks on the ground and trees, and the way they were perfectly refined and measured, it was clear this person was a weapon wielder who can use magic. Meaning they were like me, dual professionals. Well, I could never compare anything with my master. She was an entity so great that I might never see something like her again. So, this person was running wild, having fun killing creatures of this hunting ground of the main city Huga. I really wanted to see this person myself. Well, why wouldn't I? I knew nothing was going to happen to me. However strong my opponent was, they had no way of actually killing me. And I was confident that this one was one of those so-called fortunate encounters. Maybe I can ask this person to guide us around the city for a bit until I finish the preparations and go to the capital through Warp Gate. It would be really nice if that happened. Seals flew away in the search herself, leaving her clone with me. These clones can't talk, but even if they die in some circumstances, though I would never let happen, she would only receive some injury. I knew she was smart, and she had survived for long enough to never die by some normal means, so I wasn't worried. And she was excited to meet someone like me or more like another human for the first time in her life. So I didn't mind her going on her own. I knew she was strong. No creature in this weak forest with far lower mana density than the Great Forest can harm her. So I also looked at Zoe and smiled. Let's see this powerful person. I mumbled under my breath, and we started walking. Zoe was hesitant, but I could feel her excitement too. She was a fun person to play with. Oh, I will have to help her select a weapon that matches her too. She wasn't her mom, so the whip won't be the best weapon she would use. She might be interested in a unique weapon, and her body was the best for learning whatever she wanted, so she had endless options to choose from. We didn't get that chance in the tower as we were in a hurry, but she had the idea of every weapon there was. She had all the knowledge in the world her mom had, but she was okay. I was with her. Now, I was looking forward to that one, and also, for now, seeing the first person after 6 years of forest life.